How about them Cowboys is the rallying cry once again in North Texas, and why not? The Dallas Cowboys have won 4 straight, 5 of their last 6. They come out onto the field at Texas Stadium in Irving, ready to take on Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints on NBC's Sunday Night Football. Al Michaels along with John Madden, Andrea Kramer. Welcome to Texas Stadium. The Saints come in as the best story in the National Football League in 2006. Hurricane Katrina made them vagabonds last year. They were 3-13. Now they're back home in New Orleans. They are 8-4 under rookie head coach Sean Payton, who's done a tremendous job. Drew Brees came over from San Diego. He has been terrific. And, of course, Reggie Bush, the Heisman Trophy winner last year, beginning to make a name for himself. 4 touchdowns last week. For the Cowboys, a remarkable turnaround in the middle of the season. They had a Monday night meltdown against the Giants. Bill Parcells changed quarterbacks, went to Tony Romo, and this town right now, John, is gaga over Tony Romo, who's won 4 straight, leads the league in passer rating. Bill Parcells, of course, wants to throw a little cold water on it, but what's your feeling about what he's done for this team and his performance so far?
You know, I think he's done everything for this team. I mean, you watch Tony Romo, and he's very comfortable in the pocket. I mean, he can drop back, has a quick release, can get rid of the ball. He can also escape. He can get to the outside. I think he throws the ball on the run as well as anyone. And as I look at this Cowboy team now, he's really improved all the areas. He's made the wide receivers better, he's made the offensive line better, and he's made the running backs better.
His team is 8-4, as are the Saints. So, John, to what do you attribute this remarkable turnaround, and what's the formula to beat a red-hot team on the road tonight?
I think it's the New Orleans Saint offense. I think they have to have a big night, and if you say, you know, what's the biggest thing for the Saint team? To me, it's getting Drew Brees, because he's not only a quality guy, but he's a quality quarterback, leading the league in passing, and he's something special, and he's going to have a big night tonight.
So we've got Romo, we've got Brees, and a couple of other guys you may know a little bit about. Reggie Bush, Terrell Owens, star power in the Lone Star State tonight on Sunday Night Football. In Irving, Texas, the Dallas Cowboys come in very healthy for the 13th game of the season. It's a different story, though, for the Saints. More on that. Let's go to the field and check in with Andrea Kramer. Hello, Andrea.
Hello, Al. Yeah, Saints not so lucky. Wide receiver Joe Horn did not make the trip due to a groin injury. Now, rookie sensation, wide receiver Marcus Colston, who was the NFL's leading receiver through the first 9 games of the season, will play despite a sprained left ankle. And something to keep an eye on with the Saints. Reggie Bush suffered a right shoulder sprain in last week's win over the 49ers. He'll play tonight wearing a shoulder harness to try and prevent further injury. He told me he practiced with it all week and says he doesn't feel it will restrict him.
We'll keep an eye on him, and of course Colston's a tremendous story, a 7th-round draft choice. And right now, the top playoff seeds. The Bears play the Rams tomorrow night. They're 10-2. The winner of this game will move for the moment into the number 2 spot, because the Seahawks were beaten by Arizona this afternoon. So Seattle is now 8-5, leading the NFC West. Martin Gramatica, who'd been on the street and then was signed when they released Mike Vanderjagt and won the game last week at the Meadowlands to kick off. Fred McAfee back to receive. Flashballs popping, and away we go from Irving, Texas. You've got Michael Lewis to run the kickback, and Lewis now out to the 29-yard line and a penalty. So a flag on the run back. Jerry Austin is the referee tonight. All right, Jerry, the stage is yours.
On the return, number 51, a low block of the return team. After this is for the goal, first down.
Drew Brees, 2 really great years with San Diego, but they had to make a decision there, and then he hurt himself at the end of last year and had shoulder surgery. They decided to go with Phillip Rivers. So Brees took a look around, looked at Miami, looked at New Orleans, and it turned out that New Orleans was the spot for him. And right now, he is having a tremendous year, and as John said, is probably the primary reason for their record. They spread him out as they empty the backfield, and on first down, Marcus Colston, that 7th-round draft choice, makes the catch. And let's take a look at the New Orleans offense.
Drew Brees, Boilermaker. Deuce McCouse, University of Mississippi.
Reggie Bush, USC. Marcus Colston, Hofstra University.
Terrence Copper, East Carolina University.
Mark Campbell, Michigan.
Jamal Brown, University of Oklahoma.
Jamar Nesbitt, South Carolina.
Jeff Faye, Notre Dame. Jari Evans, Bloomsburg University.
John Stinchcomb, Georgia.
You've got Bush and McAllister both in the lineup at the moment. And when they do that, they normally split Bush as they do here. And then that pass is dropped by the tight end. That's Mark Campbell, unable to handle it. Let's take a look at the Dallas D.
Marcus Spears, Louisiana State. Jason Ferguson, Georgia.
Chris Canty, Virginia.
Al Singleton, Temple.
Brady James, LSU.
Aiken Adele, Purdue.
DeMarcus Ware, Troy.
Terrence Newman, Kansas State.
Roy Williams, Oklahoma. Keith Davis, Sam Houston State.
Anthony Henry, South Florida.
Second down and 10 now. With the Saints stacking two receivers to the left. Then Colston goes in motion into the slot. Brees under pressure, and down he goes. So that Dallas defense, and they can put a lot of pressure on with that nickel. DeMarcus Ware is there, and he figures to play a big role in tonight's game.
DeMarcus Ware is a big pass rusher for this Cowboy team, and when you get him up here in the line and you give him a start like this and you just watch him, you are not going to be able to block him with a back. And you better turn out to DeMarcus Ware, because he's going to run right by you anyway. He'll play left side like he did on that time, but he'd also play on the right side like he is right now on the third down play.
Brees out of the shotgun. 3rd and 17. Stepping up. Throws underneath for Reggie Bush, and Reggie unable to exhibit any of those patented moves because Terrence Newman is right there to say, not now.
And a cornerback making a tackle like Terrence Newman just made in the open field against Reggie Bush can get excited about that as he can about knocking a ball down. Because you always say Reggie Bush, you have to get him in open space, and he's very tough. If he gets an open space, Terrence Newman has to do what he did.
Steve Weatherford, a rookie from Illinois, with a booming punt that is fair caught at the 21-yard line by Newman, a 53-yard punt. So Tony Romo and the Dallas offense coming out onto the field. Night football being brought to you by Southwest Airlines, proud sponsor of the NFL, official airline of Super Bowl 41. By Verizon Wireless. By the new 2007 Lincoln Navigator, and by Aragon, Friday, only in theaters. Downtown Dallas, Cowboys will start with 4 receivers as they huddle up here. You've got Owens and Terry Glenn as their starters, and then Sam Hurd and Patrick Creighton are the others. So they have Julius Jones in the backfield. Go with 4 wides here. And Tony Romo on his first snap of the night with a quick toss to Glenn, who has to turn behind him to make the catch and pull it in and take it up to the 23-yard line. He's tackled by the former Cowboy Scott Shanley. Tony Romo, even though it's his first year as a starter, has been with the team now for, this is his 4th season, 3 years backing up people like Quincy Carter, Vinny Testaverde, Drew Bledsoe, and of course he took over for Bledsoe in the second half of that Monday night game against the Giants. Started the next week against Carolina and led them to a comfort behind victory in a game in which they trailed 14-0. They'll run a draw to Julius Jones on 2nd and 8. Good slip move by Jones, and Julius Jones into Saints territory, being chased from behind. Nobody will get him. Touchdown Dallas. 77 yards for Julius Jones, the longest run of his career.
Everyone has to block to get a play like that. It starts with Flozell Adams. You're going to see Terrell Owens. You're going to see Oliver Hoyt right there, the fullback. He gets that lead block there. Jones gets to the outside. Terrell Owens makes a block on the corner, and then Julius Jones is gone.
Dramatica for the point after. So a 2-yard pass to Glenn, a 77-yard run by Jones. And just like that, it's 7-0 Cowboys. Julius Jones came into the game averaging 3.9 yards per rush, and he was seeing less and less action as Marion Barber was seeing more and more, especially on short yardage and third down and in other situations. And then Julius says, I've got a little bit left myself, friends.
And Bill Parcells loves having two backs that he figures he can just play equally.
Michael Lewis, he started the year on the unable to perform list, and he loses the football. A scrum and nothing yet from the officials. The line judge had the body language of a guy ready to point in Dallas's direction, but Jerry Austin comes in and says no. Saints recover, and in comes Brees, and we'll go back and take a look at Terrell Owens and what he did on the touchdown run by Julius Jones.
Well, in an era where, wide receivers really don't hustle, I mean, that's a pretty average block, but look at Terrell Owens just run on this thing. I mean, he's going to get in position right at the end to make a block. He doesn't have to, but it's just kind of refreshing to see a guy play all out, isn't it?
And he gave Josh Bullock a little shove there at the end as if to say, hey, listen, pal, try to keep up with me. That's Deuce McAllister taken down by Al Singleton after a gain of 4 to the 25-yard line. The Saints, #1 in total offense, and that means they've gained more yards per game than any team in the league, and in passing yardage they lead in that department as well. Sean Payton does the play calling.
And Drew Brees really it around. It's not only his wide receivers, but Reggie Bush has 73 receptions.
On his way to close to 100. He's on that sort of a pace right now. And this is McAllister up to the 26. For Deuce McAllister, he's coming off knee surgery. He'd been their primary back over the past 3 or 4 seasons. Then he tears up his knee, has ACL surgery. Then he's recuperating. And then, of all things, Houston passes on Reggie Bush, and New Orleans gets Bush. And so it's almost like insult to injury. But Sean Payton said, hold on a second. There's plenty of room for you. You're still going to get 20 carries a game.
Yeah, and Deuce is really a team guy. And all he wanted to know is if he's still going to be part of the team and where he stands. And you just watch the way they play, and he takes the heavy load of the running game.
3rd down and 5. Brees protected, throws. That'll be a first down as the catch is made by McAllister, and Deuce is up to the 34-yard line. Brees loves to spread it around. Bush with 73 grabs, Colston 54. Joe Horn is hurt. You'll see Devery Henderson tonight, and that's McAllister's 25th catch of the year.
Well, and Drew Brees moves around also. He changes his launch point. He's a shorter quarterback, and that's probably why he went to high school in Texas and didn't go to a Texas college, because he says he's 6 foot. He's probably a little under 6 foot, and there's not a lot of people wanting 6-foot quarterbacks, but this guy's special.
On 1st and 10 with 5 receivers, they go to Reggie Bush, and Bush does not go out of bounds, comes back in and takes it up to the 40-yard line, breaking away from a Keith Davis would-be tackle. That's a gain of 7. It'll be 2nd down and 3. And a new Saints record for running backs. And as we say, he's on a pace that would net him about 100. And the Saints right now going without a huddle on 2nd down and 3. And again, that 5-receiver set.
Yeah, they have the empty backfield, and Drew Brees is excellent in the shotgun.
And throws, and that will be not caught. It is incomplete. There's no fumble as Henry will take it toward the end zone, but Marcus Colston never had control of it. 3rd down.
We're talking about DeMarcus Ware and what a big pass rusher he is. Watch him here. He starts out in the slot, then he gets a good run, and Jamal Brown is the left tackle, and he and DeMarcus Ware met right there. That was a heck of a collision. I think Jamal Brown is the best offensive lineman in this group.
2nd year out of Oklahoma. He was their #1 draft choice last year. Cowboys show blitz, and they do, and then Brees gets it away, and the pass for Colston is incomplete. That's Aaron Glenn who comes in the nickel, covering on the play. 4th down, they'll punt.
And we're talking about Drew Brees being 6 foot, and because he is 6 foot. He's going to get pressure. When you give him pressure, it's like here, you bring both safeties right up in the middle. The big thing on a shorter quarterback is always to rush right up the middle, get in his face, and make him have vision problems.
Steve Weatherford, his first punt was 53. This considerably shorter. Patrick Creighton takes it from the 23 back to the 26-yard line after a 36-yard boot. About 6 minutes into the game, 7-0 Dallas. Danian Tomlinson, of course, playing on some other planet right now, has already broken the record for touchdowns. 3 today, 29 for the season. We'll see him a week from tonight. Now the Cowboys on their second possession from the 26-yard line on first down. There's 2 tight ends and 2 wides here. Romo, play fake, stepping up, has a great feel in the pocket, and the pass is caught by Jason Witten, the tight end, up at the 44-yard line. Witten on the other end of that big play last week in New York in the final minute to set up Grammatica's game-winning field goal.
You know what the Cowboys do, Al, is they put 3 tackles in for protection. Here's their 3rd tackle, Jason Fabini, and that's what makes the pocket. You see, they have that extra lineman in there, and they just form a pocket right around Tony Romo. And it's the type of thing, usually when you put like a tackle in at tight end, it's usually a running situation. When the Cowboys do it with Fabini, every time they've done it this year, they've thrown the ball.
And that's time with success. That takes him out to the 44-yard line. Now Jones again, and this time he does not get on track. Mark Simoneau, the first to hit him. Let's take a look at the Dallas offense.
Tony Romo, Eastern Illinois.
Julius Jones, Notre Dame.
Oliver Hoyt, NC State.
Terrell Owens, Tennessee Chattanooga.
Terry Glenn, The Ohio State University.
Jason Witten, Tennessee.
Flozell Adams, Michigan State.
Kyle Kozar, Arizona State.
Andre Gerard, Colorado.
Marco Rivera, Penn State.
Mark Colombo, Boston College.
Mark Colombo doing a great job this year. Heard a few years ago he was the Bears' #1 draft choice. Thought his career might be over. Bill Parcells singling him out to us this week as the guy having a terrific year. They go the other way on second down this time as Jones takes it up to the 48-yard line. Let's take a look at the New Orleans defense.
Charles Grant, Georgia.
Brian Young, UTEP. Rodney Leslie, UCLA.
Will Smith, The Ohio State.
Scott Fujita, Cal.
Mark Seminoff, Kansas State.
Scott Shanley, Nebraska.
Mike McKenzie, Miami Northern Senior High.
Omar Stoutmeyer, Fresno State. Josh Bullock, Nebraska.
Fred Thomas, Bruce High School, Bruce, Mississippi.
Will they go to work on Rodney Leslie? He is the guy taking Hollis Thomas's place. Thomas, who would be a starter, suspended for the rest of the regular season for violating the league's steroid policy. So Leslie, number 77, is the new starter there. It's 3rd down and 6. Romo out of the shotgun, stepping up, slings it to the outside, and that one slipped. Terry Glenn, the intended receiver, but it sailed on, and it's 4th down.
You know, sometimes you wonder if that really sailed on him or if he just didn't have anything there, and he's learned the lesson. You know, if you don't have anything, throw it away. Don't force the ball, and I think that's one of the lessons that Tony Romo has learned.
You think Bill Parcells has harped on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. And sometimes throwing away is a good play. Throwing away and punting isn't bad.
Matt McBriar will float this one into the arms of Michael Lewis at the 12-yard line. Saints will take it there. 6.5 to go in the opening period. The Dallas Cowboys on top of the New Orleans Saints. 7-0. Star video coverage tonight brought to you by Sirius Satellite Radio. Irving, Texas Stadium, home of the Cowboys in '71. Reggie Bush is the running back in this set. Mike Carney is the fullback. Brees will throw, and he'll hit Carney, and Carney out to the 21, gain of 9. For Drew Brees, this is a familiar stadium. He hasn't played here in 10 years, but the last time he played here, he was in high school. He went to Austin Westlake High, came in here in the state championship game, had a tremendous night, and his team won the Texas 5A title. From Austin, Drew Brees grew up there, wound up going to Purdue in the Big Ten, then to San Diego, and of course now here, and this is Carney, the fullback again. So you have Bush and you have McAllister, and then you have the fullback, and they pass to him, and he runs for a first down.
Yeah, and I think maybe that was his first run of the year, because they usually block him. And, again, when you're talking about Deuce McAllister and you're talking about Reggie Bush, Mike Carney's not going to get a lot of touches, but they do throw it to him, and he's a good lead blocker, a very good lead blocker.
At the 29-yard line on first down.
And Reggie Bush is the back now.
And they'll swing it out to Bush. And Bush surveying. He just hesitated. I mean, he has those moves. If you watched him play at SC, you know he can do that. He looks ahead. He sees where the block is going to go. Cuts to the inside. Turns it into a first down.
I was saying the other day that, I'm sure as a kid, he was never it and tag. I mean, he has those moves that are just natural moves. And, he just sets up, waits, and then, just, plants this way and then goes that way. And, you hate to say someone's like Barry Sanders, and I don't mean that at all, that he's, in his rookie year like Barry Sanders, but he has some Barry Sanders type moves.
And he's explosive. He catches the ball. Now McAllister again. And, of course, we're not going to anoint him. You don't anoint a rookie as the next Barry Sanders, but that's a point well taken, John. Now, among the things he does that Barry did, too, he loses yardage a lot of the time because he's looking for that big run. And so the downside to that is you're going to lose yardage on a good percentage of your running plays.
You're right, especially to the outside, and backs that dance and make all those quick moves are going to lose yardage, but they're also going to get some big gains.
2nd and 10. Brees to the outside. Carney, who has a run and 2 catches tonight, and takes it across the 50 to the Dallas 48-yard line and a first down for the Saints.
Yeah, that's not a big thing to do. I mean, a bad thing to do when you get out here and you have your 2 receivers here, so you just run everything off, and then you get Mike Carney out there with no defender and just let him run right up the field. A guy that is a good lead blocker is going to run over someone in the open field. Again, Reggie Bush is in the tailback now.
48-yard line. Carney was in the slot. And there's Bush, and he'll get enveloped by Chris Canty, number 99. Well, Chris Canty, it's funny. Bill Parcells, he says, I not only have a doghouse, I have a hotel. And he's right. I mean, he has an entire kennel. And in the kennel this week would be Canty, and his opposite number on the other side, Marcus Spears.
Yeah, because he figures that, he's not getting good enough play from his 2 defensive ends and the 3-man line. And Canty's a tall guy. I mean, he's 6'6", 6'7", and he plays too high. And, he's not getting a pass rush, an aggressive pass rush on 1st and 2nd down.
And so Spears on the sideline, and that's a dangerous pass. And it's incomplete. Terrence Newman is right there, smothering Reggie Bush. It'll be 3rd down and 9.
Sometimes you just shouldn't throw that ball. I mean, if you look at the receivers and you look at the coverage right here, to do something like this, the coverage has to be off. You want the coverage back off. If you're going to throw that screen, you can't have both those defenders on the line. I'm surprised that he didn't make an audible and get out of that play.
3rd and 9. He sends Bush into the slot. You got McAllister offset in the backfield. He looks to the outside. He hits Colston, and Colston will be taken down just short of a first down by Anthony Henry. So Colston makes the catch, but the ball spotted at the 39. It'll be 4th down and 1.
A good tackle there by Anthony Henry. I mean, that's what you have to do. If they're going to throw that slant on 3rd down, you have to stop them short of the first down and make them make these type of decisions. I think Sean Payton learned this from Bill Parcells, who over the years seems to love to go for it on 4th down.
And they will on 4th and 1, and it's McAllister handing it to Devery Henderson, and that will be a first down. So Henderson touches the ball for the first time tonight. He is explosive. 3rd-year wideout out of LSU, and on 4th and 1, they run it back to this side and pick up the first.
You look at Sean Payton and looking at that card, and you wonder, how did this card even get on a play for short yardage? I mean, DeMarcus Ware was there in the backfield. I mean, he was lucky to get by him. Watch 94 here. He has that reverse. He sees it coming, and he can only get one hand on it. But that is a heck of a call for 4th and 1. I don't know that I ever would have made it.
Saw that earlier this year. Javon Walker pulled that off in a Denver game, and here comes DeMarcus Ware. Well, he may have missed Devery Henderson, but he then comes flying into the backfield for the sack on the next play, but there's a flag, and that won't count because it's offside against the Cowboys, and it's going to be on the guy who made the sack, DeMarcus Ware.
I was going to say that he either got a heck of a jump on that ball or he was offsides. And it turned out to be the latter. Here he is. You see him right here. Yeah, he got a jump before the ball was snapped. But I'll tell you, he is that quick that he could not have went before the ball snapped and get a jump like that.
Type of player that you have to account for. If you're on offense, you always have to know where 94 is. A minute and a half to go in the period. Toss back. Bush. And Reggie Bush to the 20-yard line.
You know, I think Reggie Bush brought something into this league, a running back leaving his feet. You know, that's something that most running backs in the NFL don't do. And Reggie Bush said he started this in his junior year at USC, where right here at the end, I mean, you take and you done something and you just jump over guys. Now, he said the first time that he ever did that, he was on the 8-yard line and dove into the end zone. I'm thinking, how do you know that you can get 8 yards on a leap?
It's 24 feet. Be a great long jump. Brees over the middle to Mark Campbell, the tight end, and he'll take it inside the 10. So Campbell taking over when the Saints lost their starting tight end, Ernie Conwell, and he'll play a much bigger role as we go down the stretch.
Yeah, I don't know that he will be. He's limping off the field. He got hurt on that play. It was an interesting play. What they did, Al, is they faked a screen to the right. They got the Cowboy defense to go out to that side, and then they brought Campbell in the middle where the Cowboy defense vacated.
Now they give it to Bush. No room on the right side. He takes it to the 5, but this drive started at the New Orleans 12. It has reached the Dallas 5. We have reached the end of the first quarter on a 77-yard run by Julius Jones. The Cowboys lead 7-0. Back after these messages. Tomorrow on the Today Show, right here on NBC, start the second quarter. Al Michaels, John Madden, and Andrea Kramer. Long drive that has consumed 6.5 minutes, has encompassed 83 yards. And it's second down and goal as we start the second quarter. Drew Brees, the Saints quarterback, off the play fake, throwing into the end zone, and that's knocked away by Anthony Henry, intended for Terrence Copper. Copper, a former Dallas Cowboy.
Drew Brees does a great job of play-action pass, you know, because what you have to do in play-action passes, you have to have a good fake of the run, but you can't stay with it too long. You have to, you know, bounce back up and get ready, and he does that very, very well.
Anthony Henry has 16 deflections. It's an unofficial statistic, but the Elias Sports Bureau does a great job of keeping information like that. He leads the league. That was his 16th right there. Third down and goal from the 5-yard line.
You know, the Cowboys just substituted 6 defensive players.
And that is what the discussion is more than likely about. Jerry Austin, the referee.
We have delay on the defense. Number 94 is making a move. That's not common in the game of football. After distance to the goal, it's still third down.
And now they're changing 5. Now 5 are coming in and 5 are going out.
Jerry Austin, and we lost his audio there at the end, a move not common to football, I believe is what he said, which can mean a heck of a lot of things.
Well, you know what it used to mean? They used to call it jamming the signals, and it was a big George Allen, Washington Redskin thing where the defensive guy makes a move or a sound that tries to draw the offense offside.
And right now the sound is enough for Drew Brees to say timeout. Let me talk this over with third down and goal. And here is what Ware did. Yep, a flinch, a couple of points, and a penalty. 3rd down and goal here, John, from the 2-yard line.
And I think what Sean Payton is thinking, if you're going to go for it on 4th down, you would run the ball here now. You would run it and say, if I don't make it, I'll run it on 4th down. If you're going to kick a field goal on 4th down, if you don't make it, then this should be a passing down.
And now you've got only Carney in the backfield. You've got Bush in the slot to the left. And it is Carney for the touchdown.
Now that is the element of surprise.
Wow.
They say Carney never carries the ball. They give you a pass formation. They not only do that, they offset Carney. You know, he wasn't the fullback behind the quarterback. They offset him here, which says, now this is a passing formation. You got wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. Spread them out. You put your blocker here. This guy's a blocker. No, he's not a blocker. You just hand it to him, and boom, you hit that quick trap right up the middle.
So that's Carney with a K, and now Carney with a C, John Carney, to try to tie the game. Mike Carney touched the ball 4 times on that drive. John Carney ties the game. They go 88 yards in 6 minutes and 44 seconds, and the Saints had 7 first downs along the way. What a drive. 7-7. And the New Orleans Saints locked up at 7 early in the second quarter, with the Saints to kick off. Billy Cundiff, a former Cowboy, brought in recently to kick off. Carney is still the field goal kicker. And so Cundiff sends a bouncing liner down to Miles Austin. And Austin able to break a couple of tackles inside the 20. Takes it out to the 27-yard line. Romo will go back to work. He's 2 of his first 3 for 20 yards. They love Tony Romo. Of course, Bill Parcells. You know, the thing about Parcells, and it's not just Romo. I mean, every time Bill gets a star who becomes a sudden star, if Larry David ever retires, Bill Parcells should be the guy who replaces him on Curb Your Enthusiasm. If there's one guy who can curb your enthusiasm, it's Bill.
Yeah, I mean, he just doesn't want anyone to get, carried away with themselves. And, as he says, we don't want guys to be too cool for school. And he worries a little about that with Romo, but I don't know that he should.
Romo throwing deep for Owens, and it's incomplete, intended for Terrell, covered by Thomas. Speaking of Parcells, rolling a little tape here for you.
I'd say that you guys are looking at him like a rookie, and I'm not. I'm impressed to the fact that he didn't turn the ball over, and he's managing the game well, and that's what he's supposed to do. I think he's a football guy, and he's interested in playing well, but we've got a ways to go here. So put the anointing oil away.
2nd down and 10.
It's always the anointing oil, and don't put him in Canton yet.
Yep. And that's a pass that is intercepted by Omar Stoutmire, another former Cowboy. And Romo turns the ball over. So I guess we will put the anointing oil away, at least on this drive. Stoutmire with the pick, reads it perfectly, and the New Orleans Saints get the turnover.
Yeah, Stoutmire is back there, and he's just reading everything. He's going to try and get Terry Glenn right here, 83. He's going to try and get him to the corner. And you see Stoutmire there is back deep enough that he has everything in front of him. He has Glenn in front of him. He has Romo in front of him. He has the ball in front of him, and that lets him make a perfect jump. Omar Stoutmire at one time played for the Cowboys.
Saints had 3 picks against the 49ers last week. Stoutmire picks off his 2nd of the year here. Now Brees retreats. Has about 12 seconds to throw, and then the coverage is so good that he has to settle for McAllister underneath, and the Deuce is able to pick up about 3.
I'll tell you, defensive coaches and head coaches really get upset when that happens. When you give a quarterback that much time where Drew Brees could just sit back there and look right, look left, look up in the middle, look everywhere, you think someone has to break loose sometime, and none of those pass rushers broke loose. I mean, that's part of the 3-man line, but they also have a blitz coming there. So it wasn't just a three-man rush. It was a start of the three-man line, but they brought 4.
Now off the play fake. Brees throws over the middle, and that pass is incomplete. Trying to get it to Billy Miller, who's the backup tight end. Mark Campbell caught that pass earlier to give him a first and goal, but limped off, and Miller is in there right now.
You look at Sean Payton there, and he has his list of plays, and again, everything is broken down. You know, it's 1st and 10, 2nd and long, 2nd and short, 3rd and long, you know, goal line, short yardage, red zone, all those things. So all those color codes and all those plays have a number on them, and he just calls that number into Drew Brees.
That card is so huge, he's hiding that call to a new level here. 3rd down and 7, and that's a pass that is caught on the outside by Colston, and Marcus Colston takes it to the 24. What a story this guy is. He's the 4th from the last guy picked in the draft. He's almost the guy they call Mr. Irrelevant. That goes to the guy who's picked dead last. Played at Hofstra. Reminds you of Wayne Corbett in that regard, not in terms of his size and speed and all of that, but what a shock he has been this year. A great shock for New Orleans.
You know, I was just watching him in the pregame warm-up, and you know, he's 6'4", 231 pounds, but he really catches the ball with ease. This guy has great and soft hands.
Missed last week's game with a sprained ankle, didn't practice much, but in there tonight, and then the pass is thrown underneath to John Owens, the other tight end. Short game, more on Colston. Let's go to Andrea.
Well, like you said, he was almost Mr. Irrelevant. He had 33 receivers selected before him. He told me he never would have thought he'd have this kind of season. He said he was confident in his ability, but he never expected this. And this is great, guys. He said, it's as crazy for me as it is for you guys. And he said his welcome to the NFL moment was in Green Bay in week 2. He lined up against Charles Woodson. He said that's when it hit him. He's in the NFL now.
57 catches for him, 2nd down and 6. And they give it to McAllister. They like to run that play a lot where they'll run normally Reggie Bush in motion, and it looks like they can either give it to him on an end around or give it to Deuce up the middle, which they do here, setting up a 3rd and 1.
Yeah, that's exactly what they do, and then they can check it. Now, if you want to really collapse the line and come in on Deuce McAllister, then they can hand it to Reggie Bush on the outside. So they're always checking the containment. You know, if you don't have containment out there, then shortly hereafter, the ball is going to be handed to Reggie Bush. Not now because it's on the sideline, but that's the thing that they look for when they run that play. They look to check the containment on the backside.
3rd and 1, double tight end with the fullback Carney in there. They give it to McAllister, Deuce to the outside, and McAllister coming back from knee surgery takes it to the 11-yard line. And that's a lot of, you hear this chorus of Deuce. A lot of people came in from the New Orleans area.
You know, don't we see that more and more where there's more opponents' fans in the stands? I think that's that thing where people are selling tickets or something, but I noticed just this crowd, even below us here, there's a lot of Saint fans here tonight. And then, of course, anytime Deuce McAllister carries the ball, that's when you hear that big goo.
Yep. 1st and 10 from the 11. That pass is caught, and taking it to the 2-yard line, that's Terrence Copper, the former Dallas Cowboy. You've got a few of them, and of course Sean Payton as the head coach, Gary Gibbs as the defensive coordinator were both on Parcells' staff last year.
Right, and I think Sean Payton learned that from Bill Parcells. Remember when he came here, he brought those Patriot guys and the Jet guys, and guys that were kind of, they called them his guys, but guys that he knew. And Sean Payton leaves Dallas, and he goes down to New Orleans Saints, and he brings his guys that he knows from the Cowboys.
2nd and 1 from the 2. The fake to McAllister, then the pass caught by Carney. Carney is playing his 44th career game. He has never touched the ball this often in an entire game. Tonight, 3 catches, 2 runs, scores the touchdown here. He has 2 touchdowns in the game, first 2 of his career, and New Orleans takes the lead.
They're going to have to start double teaming Mike Carney here. Again, a big fullback like that, you can't sneak him out because they're playing him for the lead. When they see him coming in, they think it's going to be a run. They think he's going to be the lead blocker, and then he just keeps going and goes out in the flat.
Only Carneys are allowed to score tonight. Here's John with his 2nd point after. So after the Stoutmeyer pick, the Saints march in again. 14-7 New Orleans. Holiday season in the Metroplex, the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Texas Stadium. Cowboys will move into new digs in Arlington for the 2010 season, and then that kickoff goes out of bounds, and that's not what you want at this particular point.
Kickoff out of bounds by the kickers. The ball will be placed at the 40-yard line. First down.
Not what you want at any particular point, a kickoff out of bounds. Romo and company going to work from the 40, down by 7.
Looking for the next big play, and what it has done is give us confidence to go out there each and every week to make plays, and that's what Tony brings to the team.
Terry Glenn talking about Romo. There are his folks, Romero and Joan Romo from Wisconsin. It's where Tony grew up. Wound up going to Eastern Illinois. He was not highly recruited, wasn't drafted, signed by the Cowboys. Now in his 4th season, and his time has come. And this is Jones, and his time has come as well with a 77-yard gain. We're talking about Parcells and keeping everything in check. What did he say the other day? He said, you know, Cinderella can lose that shoe at any time, and talking about Romo. But, you know, clearly when you look at Bill's expression, remember the exasperation, the frustration has gone to almost ebullience. Not tonight yet, but, you know, over the last few weeks.
Well, you know, we were talking about how much Tony Romo has helped the team, the running game, the offensive line, the wide receivers. He has also helped his head coach. I mean, Bill Parcells is a totally different guy than he was when we did that Carolina-Dallas game.
Jones to the 45-yard line, and it's an amazing, I mean, it's an in-season turnaround. In that Giant game, the way they perform that night, and they lose, and then they start out down 14-0 to Carolina, and that's a season on the brink. And now all of a sudden they've gone from a moribund season to one in which a lot of people think they're the best team in the conference.
Yeah, remember the game before Tony Romo started, everyone was worried about Bill Parcells. His players were calling him. Guys that coached with him were calling him. Jim Burt, his ex-player, came to the game in Carolina because they thought there was something wrong with him. They said, hey, you're not the same guy. You're not the Bill Parcells we know.
And that helped shake him up a little, too. On 2nd and 5, that is Will Smith, who missed last week with a sprained ankle, but he is back tonight in top form. 3rd-year guy out of Ohio State, their #1 pick in 2004, sacking Romo and making it 3rd and 15.
You know, that's what a defensive end has to do, is take a hard inside move. And you see Will Smith do it on that play. In fact, he lines up in the tackle, but he ended up going inside the left guard, Kyle Kozar. And I think anytime you get, you know, a quarterback like Romo and you want to get pressure on him right now, it has to come from the inside. And if your best pass rushers or your defensive end, they have to take hard inside moves.
9.5 sacks for him. Romo gets knocked down again. And the issue was forced, and Glenn was the intended receiver, and that was Will Smith again getting in Romo's face. But there's a flag down.
I was just going to say, he didn't take an inside on that one. He went outside, and it doesn't look like anyone blocked him.
Penalties declined. 4th down.
And on top of that, it's a holding call on Andre Garrod, the center.
Watch Will Smith. He just comes from the outside here. I don't think anyone blocked him. See the tight end, Witten, he's kind of there, but he doesn't block him, and Will Smith gets a free run at Tony Romo.
Matt McBriar leading the league in punting average with a small chance to eclipse the long-standing mark held by Sammy Baugh, and a flag is thrown. It's going to be running into the kicker as a fair catch is made. Steve Gleason, the special teamer, backup safety for the New Orleans Saints, runs in to McBriar. Now the question is this of what variety?
I don't think it can be a first down of any variety. It'll be, if it's a 15-yard variety, you know, it could be very close. But if it's the 5-yard, it's not going to be close to a first down because this is not an automatic first down.
Right, this is a 4th and 15.
Running into the kicker by the defense. 5 yards will be added where the ball was declared dead.
And that is the option they have in that situation. 14-7 New Orleans. candidate for the NFL Man of the Year in so many ways. I mean, not only is he having a great year, but he's a guy. He goes into a difficult situation. I mean, it's not like recruiting guys to come to training camp in La Jolla in New Orleans. We all know the story. It's all part of the whole process, the devastation, the rebuilding. But he cast his lot there, and then he embraced the city, and the city has embraced him. And along the way, a lot of his teammates have bought into it as well, and there is Tom Benson. Last year they were vagabonds. Of course, with Katrina hitting at the end of August, out they went to San Antonio and played their home games in San Antonio and some in Baton Rouge. And a lot of people thought they'd never play in New Orleans again. But back they went to the Superdome. They get Brees as a free agent. He helps get Reggie Bush to feel a lot better about coming to New Orleans. And they're 8-4 and have the lead tonight.
Yeah, Reggie Bush knew that when Drew Brees called him, he said, I felt 10 times better about going to the New Orleans Saints. And that's what Drew Brees exudes. I mean, that's who he is. That's what he is. He believes in it. He believes in himself. He believes in the Saints. He believes in Sean Payton. And then he gets that across to the other players, and they all believe in him.
And again, it's small potatoes, a football team in a situation, where that whole region was just devastated, but it's a little part of the process. And for what it's worth, just to lift the spirits and all of the rest and have the players embrace what the situation is and understand it is great. From the 17-yard line, Brees throws, and the pass is incomplete, intended for Billy Miller.
Because in today's football, you have to think about free agency. And how are you going to get free agents that want to go to New Orleans? And I think it's by getting guys like Drew Brees.
And now they've got Bush, and the way Sean Payton has delivered in his first year, and all of a sudden a team that was 3-13, and nobody expected the Saints to be really a contender this year. The next thing you know, if they win tonight, they'd be the number 2 seed in the conference at the moment.
Yeah, remember when Reggie White went to Green Bay?
Yep. 2nd and 10. That pass is caught at the 21-yard line. Deuce McAllister is tackled there by Brady James.
And sometimes it just takes, a player, a group of players, to give credibility, and then, as you say, you have to win. I mean, if they beat the Cowboys tonight, then they go on and they get, a top seed. They do well in the playoffs. Who knows? I mean, this is a heck of a launching point for them.
3rd and 5, DeMarcus Ware, the guy you always have to keep your eye on. They run a draw, and this time Dallas is able to defend it and stop them shy of the first down. McAllister is across the 25 to the 26-yard line. And it will be 4th down.
Yeah, I think one thing that they're going to do probably is start running Reggie Bush more inside it. That they just get him outside in those screens and those kinds of plays. And I could see there'll be a situation someday where, in a play like that, 3rd down, you're going to run a draw. You put Reggie Bush back there and let him run the draw.
The rookie Weatherford to punt. Newman from the 24. And good coverage by the Saints special teams unit here as he's tackled at the 26-yard line. 6.5 remaining in the half. Drew Bledsoe started the season as the Cowboys quarterback and lasted until halftime of that Giants game. So you had Bledsoe in for 5.5. Romo's now played 6.5. So Owens is seeing the ball a lot more. Glenn slightly less. Witten considerably more. And Patrick Creighton, the 3rd wideout, considerably more.
I feel that the Cowboy offense, they had that one big play to Julius Jones. They haven't gotten started yet. And maybe they have to get back, just like it's the start of the game, get back to the running game, get that going, and then go off of that. It's not an uphill fight yet. You're only down 14-7.
And it's Jones again who had that 77-yard run earlier for the touchdown. Tripped up by Omar Stoutmire. And that will be enough for a first down. 10-yard gain out to the 37-yard line.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. Start running the ball. You see they have Fabini in here now as a tight end. Usually, as I said earlier, they put him in for protection purposes. I think this could be the first time that they ran when they had their 3-tackle offense in there. But I think that the Cowboys have to get back to running, get back to a solid game plan.
Jones with 106 yards tonight on 6 carries, 77 on that one. Romo buying time, pump faking. And then he's finally wrestled down by Scott Fujita. Nobody could get free. Romo is dangerous when he can improvise and get out of the pocket and go to his right. But that time the secondary did its work and Fujita knocks him down.
But I think that stuff's going to come later. I mean, like I said, I don't think they've gotten their offense started yet. And you see McKenzie, the corner, he's just out there waiting for everything. I mean, he was going to play a cover 2, and then he just comes in and has a heck of a collision. He takes Terry Glenn away in that first 5 yards, and there's no one for Tony Romo to throw to.
It's a 1-yard gain, as it turns out. Second down and 9 at the 38-yard line. Ticking down to 5 minutes to go in the half. Jones again. Over the 40. Charles Grant makes the tackle. You know, you look at that Saints defense, pretty good up front. Linebackers, we have a couple of ex-Cowboys in there. It's been a vulnerable secondary, though, John. And, you know, as you look down the road, is this the kind of defense that can get you through the playoffs?
You know, again, it's a little like the Colts and those types of things. They can if their offense scores a lot of points. And you know, I think that's what Drew Brees is doing tonight so far in the first half. If the Saints offense controls the ball, keeps the defense off the field, does those kinds of things, they can. If you put all the pressure on the defense, say, hey, you have to win this for us, there's no way they can.
3rd and 6. Romo rolling, throwing, and that's juggled and not caught by Creighton. The coverage pretty good by Mike McKenzie, the ex-Packer, who had 2 picks last week in the game against the 49ers. So that Saint defense giving up that one big play, but apart from that, they've been very tough tonight.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys have really gotten away from the run, and they're putting too much on Romo, and I think they ought to go back the other way. You know, go back, establish a run, make them hang in there. Then the throwing will come, believe me.
Now, Reggie Bush, in college, of course, returned a lot of punts. A lot of spectacular returns at USC. Back to haul this one in. McBriar with a booming bomb. Fielded at the 7. Bush trying to get around the corner. Will never get there. That is great coverage. Miles Austin back there to knock him down at the 4. So a 52-yard punt. Minus yardage on the return, and New Orleans backed up.
That was a great special teams play, but I think right there he got away with a face mask, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Unseen, uncalled. Yeah.
Yeah, they usually don't miss those things.
Yeah, not that kind.
Look at his eyes. You can tell that he knows that he got away with one.
Yep.
Reggie Bush is explaining, that guy grabbed my face mask.
It's the kind of shot you don't put up on the board again when it goes against the home team. 1st and 10 from the 5-yard line. Deuce McAllister up to the 28-yard line. Deuce's given name is Duamis Janad McAllister. His high school coach named him Deuce after David Deuce Palmer, receiver a few years back with the Dolphins.
And then he changed everything to Deuce, didn't he, and made it official.
Yep. I think the Vikings, right, not the Dolphins. Yep. Now he is Deuce on the loose.
And he's not back to 100% yet. I mean, he's playing well, but he's not the old Deuce McAllister.
2nd and 7. And this is McAllister again, coming up about 2 yards shy of the first, up to the 13, where he's tackled by Aiken Adele. 3:15 to go in the opening half.
Yeah, I like what Sean Payton is doing here this first half better than what the Cowboys are doing. I mean, he seems to have a plan, and he had some bad field position, but he just kind of stuck with it, stayed with the running game, mixed up play action pass, making throws. I think he's done an excellent job of play calling.
I love the way he puts Sunday Night Football on the card in quotes. That's cool. 3rd down and 1 from the 14. Brees rolling, throwing, and hitting Marcus Colston for a first down. So Colston, they didn't know he was going to play, didn't practice this week, missed last week's game, and the 7th-round pick from Hofstra has caught 5 balls tonight for 51 yards.
This is an interesting play. Drew Brees is going to come out to this side, and he has 3 layers. He has a short, he has a medium, and he has a deep. And the deep one is the guy he picked, Colston.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, it looked like when he first came out there that he was going to throw the short one to Reggie Bush just to get the first down.
From the 26-yard line, Colston helped facilitate the trade of Dante Stallworth. Here's Bush. And Reggie Bush gets in behind his blocker and picks up a first down. He gets right in behind John Stinchcomb, the ex-Raider, and follows him for enough of a gain to pick up a first down. 2-minute warning, Saints with the ball and a 7-point lead. Show mentioned that John Stinchcomb, his brother Matt, the former Raider, started the season with Oakland, but right now not in the league. John is the younger brother. They're both about 6'6". And 315, and this is Deuce McAllister on first down, taking it out to about the 43-yard line. Jeff Fain loses his helmet.
That was Jay Ratliff that did that. I think did Jeff Fain in there. Watch him. There's Ratliff, and he's getting the push. He takes his right hand and just pushes right up under Fain. But you have to like Fain. He stays with the block. And anyone can block with their hat on, but blocking with your hat off is something special.
2nd down and 5. Brees stepping up, throws on the run, hits Bush into Dallas territory. He goes to the 31-yard line, and so Drew Brees steps away from trouble, avoids the sack, and turns what would have been a loss into a 24-yard gain, thanks, of course, to getting it into the hands of Reggie Bush. And that's a timeout here for the New Orleans Saints. They have 1 left and 67 seconds, up 14-7. With that playing the role of physician, it had the look of a guy who had a cramp, and that was what they did, massaged it out of Colston. But of course, when you're down and you have to take an injury timeout, you must come out for at least one play. So he'll be on the bench here on 2nd down and 10. And that, because of the injury, they are forced to take the timeout there, and they are out of them here. But they still have 62 seconds, and it's 2nd down and 10 at the 32-yard line. Brees to the outside, and that is caught by Devery Henderson. There's a flag as Henderson spun away. For the moment, gets the first down. But the call is going to go against the Saints.
Yeah, Drew Brees caught him in a blitz, and you think, when you get in this situation, you can anticipate blitz.
Number 19 of the offense, 10 yards, repeat 2nd down.
Yeah, because they want to knock you out of field goal range. You get in that position of the field, so you're going to go and you're going to get the blitz, and then you're going to get one-on-one. But they had a penalty here. This is a thing that a rookie has to do. We know that Reggie Bush can run the ball, and we know he can catch it. We know he can do all those things. But to be an every down back, you have to be ready to pass protect. That's not bad.
Penalty moves him out of field goal range. 2nd and 20. Brees tries to get him back into range, and he does. And then the ball came loose for the moment. That's Jamal Jones making the catch, his first of the game. The officials looking at each other to make sure that it was a catch. They'll try to snap it before the replay guys upstairs can say we want to look at it, and it appears that they did get the play off. That's one of those things where it's going to be looked at carefully upstairs. Was it stopped in time is the question.
You're right, and Bill Parcells is out in the field, but again, we know there's nothing that he can do about it.
Yeah, you can't throw a challenge flag. You're inside 2 minutes. So it is simply up to the replay official to determine whether he wants to stop the play or not. Here's what Austin has to say about it.
The play is being challenged. Before the snap, the challenge came from the replay booth.
Yeah, well,
the play will be reviewed.
I think it's an official review. It's not a challenge.
What it is. It's not a challenge. You can't have a coach's challenge. So the official upstairs did stop it before Brees could spike it, and they'll see whether this is a catch or not. Again, take a look here. This is Jones making the catch, 1 foot down, gets hit by Brady James. In comes Williams. The ball begins to come loose. Did he get the 2nd foot down? Because if he did, that's a catch, and then he'll lose the ball but recover the ball. So it would still be New Orleans ball, and the play would count, and it would take the ball all the way down to the 20-yard line.
You know, the other question I had is, did the review get in before they snapped the ball? And then, you know, if it did or didn't, how do you know?
Well, you know, it's Jerry Austin said they do. I think the replay officials now know that this is what's going to happen. If you have any sort of controversy, the team that might get the short end of the stick will get up, if they're on offense, and try to snap the ball before they can call down. So I think what's happening now, you're seeing it more and more, is the replay guys will call down no matter what.
After reviewing the play, the pass is incomplete. The receiver leaves the ball as he goes to the ground. However, unsportsmanlike conduct. One down, 15 yards for the coach throwing the replay flag inside of 2 minutes.
Well, that's it. Isn't that something? So they in effect win the result here, but then Parcells, by throwing the challenge flag, that is unsportsmanlike conduct inside 2 minutes. So now they're going to march off the penalty against the Cowboys. So here's Parcells, who clearly wants to stop the action, but you can't. You can't throw the flag, and the coaches know that inside 2 minutes. And if you do, you're going to get an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty.
Right, and I talked to Mike Pereira about that, the head of officials, and he thought that coaches were just throwing the flag out there when they knew they couldn't, just to either do like this, talk to the referee, or get an extra timeout. So they were going to make a penalty out of this. But I'll tell you that that took them out of field goal range, and then that penalty was a big penalty because it put them in field goal range.
And it's going to make it 3rd down and 5, and Jerry Austin is a guy who's reversed 43% of coaches' challenges in his career. In effect, he has the ultimate say over that. The replay booth can stop it, but he overturns more calls than any current referee in terms of percentage of overturned calls.
I think what Drew Brees is thinking now is you'd like to get a little closer, maybe pick up 10 or 15 yards, then go for a shot to the end zone, and then have your field goal later if you need it.
New Orleans does not have a timeout. Brees throws over the middle. That's caught at the 6-yard line, and there's Jones again for the touchdown.
Or do that. Wow. I'll tell you, Drew Brees is something. I mean, he is so cool, and he is so good in this situation. This 2-minute situation, he is special. Bill Parcells, standing there with his arm crossed, knew that he gave him 15 yards of pretty good field position, but Drew Brees did what he had to Jamal Jones.
And what is Jamal Jones doing in there? He's in the game because Colston got hurt. I mean, think about this. That's Jones's first touchdown. Mike Carney, the fullback, has 2 touchdowns tonight. John Carney has his 3rd extra point. And the New Orleans Saints, out on the road against a red-hot team, trailing 7-0, have scored 21 unanswered points and lead 21-7.
You're going to see, here's Roy Jones here. He's in a single safety, Roy Williams, and he's back there in a single safety. They have 5 receivers. It's just a zone. Jones runs right to that hole in the zone. Roy Williams misses a tackle. Now that could be a 4-point missed tackle right there. If he tackles him there, they could stop him and make him settle for a field goal. But Drew Brees is something. I mean, the way he has 5 receivers out there, he looks, finds Jones sitting down there in the middle of that zone and hits him perfectly.
Brees has already thrown for 199 yards. That's a 95-yard drive. Earlier, an 88-yard drive. They have outgained the Cowboys by better than a 2-to-1 ratio. Williams missing the tackle. 44 seconds remaining in the half. Dallas will have all of its timeouts, but in a 14-point hole. Miles Austin from the 2, up past the 30, gives him a good run back up to the 39-yard line. So 37 seconds and all of their timeouts.
And now they have those receivers. I mean, I think, Terrell Owens, maybe you have to get him involved. Terry Glenn, you need, get a couple of plays here because, they need a wake-up call. I mean, I think the, Cowboys offense is kind of sleepwalking out there, and they haven't gotten started. They haven't gotten anything started. I think, you know, and it's not a time now, but I think they left their running game too soon, and they'll probably get back to that at the start of the third quarter. Here now they have to spread them out, and they need a couple of big plays.
And the passing game non-existent. Romo is 2 out of 7 for 20 yards. Now 3 out of 8. Glenn takes it up to the 47-yard line. And they will take a timeout. So Romo's completed 3 passes tonight, and Brees has completed 19 to 8 different receivers, and they don't even have Joe Horn in uniform tonight.
Yeah, but don't you feel that Sean Payton has done an excellent job of calling plays?
Tremendous. Tony Romo, there are his numbers right up to the moment. 3 out of 8 with a pick. Drew Brees, meanwhile, closing in on 200 yards for the half. 2 touchdowns. Julius Jones had that 77-yard burst. He's been the extent of Dallas's offense. Mike Carney, the fullback, comes out of nowhere to become an offensive threat with 2 touchdowns. Jamal Jones gets into the game because Colston gets hurt and he scores. And the New Orleans Saints have played a near perfect last 22 minutes of the half.
Yeah, don't you like the way Drew Brees competes on? You just get, you know, that this guy's a football player. I mean, he may only be 6 foot and, you know, and not have, you know, be the perfect NFL body quarterback, but he's the perfect NFL mind and arm quarterback.
Ball start, 62. Offense. 5 yards, it's still second down.
That's Rivera. And of all things, if Drew Brees doesn't get hurt at the end of the season last year, San Diego, Denver, and he had a torn labrum and had major shoulder surgery, he is, and he feels he would be, he's probably a San Diego Charger this year. And Phillip Rivers is still on the bench.
Right. And then what happens to Phillip Rivers next year, and then what would happen to Drew Brees next year?
Second down and 8 from the 41-yard line. Tony Romo trying to get that anointing oil back out. It's been put away this half. Throws into a lot of traffic. Intended for Owens, who wants a flag but will not get one. Mike McKenzie with the coverage, and that's going to make it 3rd down and 8. And then all of a sudden you get a flag that comes in about 5 seconds later.
I tell you, a 21-7 lead will give a defense a lot of confidence.
Tony, number 34 of the defense. 15 yards, automatic first down.
Well, that's Mike McKenzie, and that's something that would get a coach nuts.
Right. I mean, of all the things that the Saints didn't need at this time was a taunting penalty. I mean, you got him. It's an incomplete pass. Just go back and huddle up. You don't need this. You don't have to talk to him. You don't have to say a word. That's, you know, I don't know. I mean, that. Yeah, I know. You know, compete is one thing. Play like heck is another thing. But doggone, don't taunt.
Use your brain. Romo has to eat it. They need to take a timeout here, and they will. It'll be 2nd down and 8. The ball is at the 42. Gramatic is the field goal kicker, so he's going to need a little more yardage here. Maybe about 15.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the area, that 12 to 15 yards. You want to hit that to get Gramatic. I mean, you know, get something on the board here at the end. Get a little momentum because, like I say, I mean, they got off to a great start with Julius Jones's run, but after that, it's kind of like they threw the whole thing in neutral.
New Orleans better than a 2-1 advantage time of possession. Look at that in terms of plays. They run 44 to Dallas's 19.
That's what the quarterback does. He looks at those images there, and that's the defense that the Cowboys are using, and they take a picture at the snap and right after the snap. So Drew Brees is looking to see how the Cowboys covered their formation.
2nd down and 8. The ball is at the 42-yard line. Romo gets protected. Slings it over the middle. Caught. 25-yard line. That's Glenn. That's a 1st down. And Dallas has to spend its final timeout. Now you've got 11 seconds. You get into range for a Gramatica field goal with that reception. So now it's about a 43-yard attempt, but you have time to run another play, assuming you either get it into the end zone or get it and take it out of bounds, because I doubt they're going to have time to get up there and spike it.
No, I would just try, if they're going to run one play before they attempt a field goal, I'd try a fade. I think you have to throw it in the end zone. I wouldn't take the chance of having to get up there and spike it.
Right.
I've always felt the safest place to throw that in the end zone is the back of the end zone. If you throw the ball to the back pylon, where either your guy gets it or no one gets it, I think that's the safest and the perfect play. If you throw to the back pylon right here, see, not the front of the end zone, but the back of the pylon, the back of the end zone.
Glenn and Creighton go to the right. Terrell Owens has not caught a pass tonight. And there he is to the left with 11 ticks and no timeouts. Romo, the pump fake. And there he goes toward that back pylon, and incomplete because McKenzie's coverage was very good on Terry Glenn. And now in comes Gramatica to try to make it an 11-point game.
I think I would have chosen the other side. He had single coverage over here down in the bottom with Terrell Owens, and it was pretty good coverage, but it was single, and I think I would have taken my chances with T.O.
Gramatica, of course, has been around. He was with New England in training camp, then he was out on the street, then he replaced Mike Vanderjagt, and this is a 43-yard attempt that is no good. Wide to the right. And there is still one tick left, and time for, I don't know, maybe Brees airs it out here. Who knows? Ball comes back to the 33-yard line. Left it out.
Yeah. He just pushed it. It was on the left hash mark, and he pushed it to the outside of the end zone. I mean, the outside of the goalpost.
Saints scored on a Hail Mary against the Bengals at the end of the first half about a month ago, but this time they settle for the kneel down, and they settle for that 14-point lead, and a great performance by Brees in this first half, 199 yards. Halftime, 21-7. Bob and the gang, Toyota Halftime Show on the other side of this break.
Toyota Halftime Show, brought to you by Toyota, moving forward.
In New York with Sterling, Jerome, and Chris, I'm Bob. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from today, beginning in the NFC. We'll also check the playoff picture in each conference. So we'll roll it first from Carolina, where the Giants came in as losers of 4 in a row. But Eli Manning had a good day, no interceptions, 3 touchdown passes, including this one to Plaxico Burress, covering 28 yards. The Giants beat the Panthers 27-13.
In Washington, Jeff Garcia continues his hot ways. This 60-yard pass to Reggie Brown is going to set up a Garcia to Dante Stallworth touchdown that would eventually make it 21-3. The Eagles go on to win it 21-19.
And they've taken 2 out of 3 now with Garcia as their quarterback since McNabb went out. These are the standings in the NFC East. Dallas, of course, we don't know the outcome of the game. We're going back there for the second half against the Saints. The Giants back in it, and Philadelphia at 7-6. Some people counted them out, but that's not the case. They're still alive.
In Tampa, injuries to Warrick Dunn and Jarius Norwood meant that Justin Griffith, the fullback, got a chance. Watch this move. Yeah, there you go. That one made it 14-6 Atlanta. Atlanta wins it 17-6 over Tampa.
Okay, in the NFC South, the Saints at 8-4 pending the outcome of the game in Dallas. Atlanta right back in it for a wild card and maybe for the division title. Carolina is hanging by a thread. In the NFC North, the Bears have the biggest lead, and in fact, they have clinched the biggest lead in any division. Minnesota still has a wild card chance because 6-7 doesn't eliminate you in the NFC.
Maybe the best game of the day in Arizona on 4th down and 20. Matt Hasselbeck is going to hit Deion Branch, who needs to get it to about the 6, and he comes up 1 yard short. Arizona holds on 27-21.
Seattle still with a comfortable lead in the NFC West, and St. Louis and San Francisco just about out of it. St. Louis plays at home tomorrow night against the Bears. The overall NFC playoff situation looks like this, beginning with the division leaders, and of course the Bears have already clinched. If the playoffs were to begin today, the wild cards would go to the Giants and the Eagles, and those on the bubble include the Falcons, the Vikings, the Panthers, and the Rams, if only barely. Okay, when we come back, we will switch conferences, breaking down the AFC playoff picture when the Toyota Halftime Show returns in less than a minute.
Charger fans are witnesses to history!
of UCLA, and now with the Jaguars, is the winner. Okay, on now to the AFC for highlights and the playoff picture. Will begin in San Diego, where the Chargers clinched the AFC West and sent the reeling Broncos to their 4th consecutive defeat. LaDainian Tomlinson did it again, that time from a yard out, later from the 6, and then late in the 4th quarter, he scores for the 3rd time on the day from 7 yards out. 29th TD of the year through just 13 games, breaking the year-old record set by Sean Alexander of the Seahawks. He might, at this pace, wind up in the mid-30s. Just astonishing what LaDainian Tomlinson has done, and so do the standings in the AFC West. As we said, San Diego has clinched. Kansas City and Denver still clinging to wild-card hopes.
In Kansas City today, where the Chiefs rarely lose in the month of December, Steve McNair said, "You're losing today, guys," as he chunks this one 87 yards down the field. Mark Clayton goes in, and Baltimore knocks off the Chiefs 20-10.
And they are in control in the AFC North with an eye now toward possibly getting one of the top 2 seeds in the conference. If the season were to end today, Cincinnati would claim one of the wild card berths, and Pittsburgh is not yet mathematically eliminated.
How about the game in Jacksonville, and how about the game for Maurice Jones-Drew? 303 all-purpose yards, including this 48-yard touchdown, and Jacksonville blows off the Colts 44-17.
Indy has lost 3 out of 4, so they were once a shoe-in for a bye and home field advantage throughout. Now they're in a dogfight, not for the division, but for the top seed in the conference. Jacksonville would have one of the wild cards if the season ended today.
In New York, the Jets were supposed to have the easiest schedule, right? I don't think so. Taking on the Buffalo Bills, Nate Clemens going to pick off this pass from Chad Pennington. Returns it 58 yards for the touchdown, and Buffalo with the upset, 31-13 over the Jets.
So since the Pats lost at Miami today, the Jets could have moved to within a game of the top in the division had they won. They did not. So New England still has the 2-game lead, and the Jets are on the bubble when it comes to the wild card situation. There are your division leaders. Cincinnati and Jacksonville would have the wild cards. The Jets, the Chiefs, and the Broncos are hoping. Okay, as we bring in Jerome and Sterling, what about a sleeper team in either conference?
Well, in the NFC for me would be the Minnesota Vikings. I know you're saying Brad Johnson isn't playing well. He's not. But they have a good defense. They've got a great schedule the rest of the way. At home against the Jets, away at Green Bay, at home against St. Louis. Solid defense, a good rushing offense. I think they can still sneak in the playoffs.
Well, I think in the AFC, it has to be 6 and 7 Tennessee. And the reason I say that is Vince Young is extending drives, especially on 3rd down with his legs, where he's carried the football 27 of his 69 carries on 3rd down. Keep that offense on the field, and he's finding ways to win football games at the end. 3 straight come from behind wins.
And after an 0-5 start, they've won 6 of 8. Chris.
Come on, guys. The sleepers, the Dallas Cowboys. Did you watch the first half out there? What the heck is that? And Tony Romo is starting to get a little bit of a feel now of what it's going to be like to play for Bill Parcells when things aren't going so well. I bet you he's getting an earful at halftime.
Well, he's got a full half to turn it around. We'll see if he can as we go back to Al and John in Dallas after this break. And we'll see you next week.
It's big, the stage for it is set. We want to win for the guy next to us. And I think it's a special bond and one that's helped us get to this point.
And if things aren't going the way you really want them to go, you make adjustments the second half. You don't come back out there and do the same thing and just force it and try to make it work.
As the game goes on, you see a lot of guys, a lot of teams mentally break down, and that can hurt you in the long run.
So it's always a measuring stick when you're playing the number 1 offense in the league. We're playing well right now. They're playing well, and I think probably there's no better time for us to meet.
Well, some guys walk around and say, "Oh, this is a big one. We got to get this one." Well, you know what? You're right. And next week, as you win, they get bigger and bigger and bigger until you get to the ultimate big one.
And right now we come back to Texas Stadium, the NFC seeding situation at the moment. Bears play the Rams tomorrow night in St. Louis, 10-2 at the moment. Winner of this game would be the 2nd seed because the Seahawks have lost. So the winner here goes to 9-4. The loser goes to 8-5. We're waiting for the smoke to clear. It's about the I got to say, it's the stupidest thing in sports. There are pyrotechnics now with every pregame show, halftime show. It's doubly stupid in indoor arenas in the NBA and NHL. And this whole place was just full of smoke 2 minutes ago because of some garbage at halftime. And, I'm going to say it once and hopefully I'm wrong, but it's a disaster waiting to happen. This is Miles Austin up past the 20. to the 28-yard line. We check in with Andrea, if you can see through the haze, Andrea.
Yeah, I can. And just an injury update for the Saints. Tight end Mark Campbell is questionable for his return. He has a left knee sprain, but wide receiver Marcus Colston has cramps, is expected to return. Now, remember, Sean Payton was Tony Romo's quarterback coach for 3 years here in Dallas, so I asked him what his defense has done that no one else has this season. He said they're doing a great job of keeping him in the pocket where he can't get outside and make his big plays.
And Tony Romo in that first half, 4 of 11 for 44 yards. Owens hasn't caught a pass. Glenn's caught 3. They give it to Jones, who had that 77-yard run, and that's been the extent of the Dallas offense up to the 31. Numbers through the first 30 minutes. Of course, it's dominated by the Saints, apart from that one run by Jones. Brees with 199 yards plus losing 7 on a sack, so 192 net passing and 2-1 time of possession.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, the Saints had a great game plan. They just kept the ball away from the Cowboys, and I think really the Cowboys are putting too much on Tony Romo. I mean, he's still a first-year quarterback, and I think that maybe he was anointed a little too soon, where he can't take everything on his shoulders yet.
2nd and 7. Romo throws, and wide open is Glenn. His 4th catch of the night, and Glenn inside the 30, the 25 to the 20-yard line. They'll spot it at the 19. And the crowd has something to cheer about for the first time since the Jones touchdown run.
Yeah, and that's what they needed. I mean, they needed something to get them started. I mean, here you see Terry Glenn comes in motion, then he goes all the way back across the field where he started from. Again, Terrell Owens makes a pretty good block there for him because he hasn't caught any passes, so he figures I have to do something to contribute in this game. But before it's over, I think T.O. is going to be a pretty big part of it. I really do.
I do too. That's a 50-yard gain there. Julius Jones, gain of 3, taking it down to the 16-yard line.
You know, the Cowboys haven't had enough time of possession to even get to Marion Barber. You know, they have that 1-2 punch. Julius Jones runs, and then they bring in Marion Barber, and he does the running. And you know, they hadn't had any continuity where they can do those things. And I'm sure that's what Bill Parcells talked about at halftime.
Romo, who had 44 passing yards before that 50-yarder to Glenn, rolling to his right where he's been dangerous, and finally hits Owens. So Owens makes his first catch of the night, steps out of bounds very close to the first down marker at the 9-yard line.
You know, and that's the thing that you have to do at halftime. You have to think, you know, what can we do with them here? You know, start them on one side, bring them in motion, bring them across the field, get them on and out. Do something to get him the ball. Change it. Just don't leave him in the same place all the time where the defense can just focus on it.
And that is a first down. They spot it at the 8-yard line. First and goal. Jones picks up 2. Julius to the 6. 2nd down.
Yeah, I'm sure this is the type of thing that the Cowboys really wanted to do all along, is not just pass and have an interception and turnover and let the Saints keep the ball. They wanted the time of possession. They wanted good mixture, get their run going, then they can do the play pass. Then Tony Romo can get outside the pocket and get in a rhythm of the game. Tony Romo in this Cowboy offense hasn't gotten into any rhythm yet tonight.
2nd and goal. Rolling left against the grain, throwing back through the middle, incomplete. Tried to jam it in to Jason Witten. It'll be 3rd and goal.
That's one thing that he can do. I mean, he can throw on the run as well as anyone, and it doesn't always have to be to his right. I mean, he can go left and turn and throw that ball like that with a lot of velocity. I think Tony Romo does this as well as anyone. Step up and throw the ball. And again, you say, well, it's a little away from Jason Witten, but it was also away from the defender. I mean, he put that ball where he had to.
3rd down and goal from the 6. Empties the backfield out of the shotgun. 3 receivers to the left and 2 to the right. Looking right. Throwing incomplete, and lucky it wasn't picked off. That's Mike McKenzie, who had 2 interceptions last week. That pass intended for Patrick Creighton. So they get the 50-yard strike to Glenn. Then Owens makes his first catch. They have a 1st and goal, but have to settle for a Gramatica field goal attempt.
Yeah, and that's the one that he's going to kind of force in here. And you see Mike McKenzie, he has the position there. In fact, he runs a better pattern than the receiver Creighton does. And Creighton has to be more physical. You know, the wide receivers, when you get down in the goal line, you have to be as physical as a linebacker.
24-yard attempt for Gramatica is good. So he misses one at the end of the first half, makes one here. The lead is 11. Saints on top, 21-10. Ribs. I don't know where that is, John, but we're going right after the game.
Not bad.
Michael Lewis to run it back to the 27-yard line.
Drew Brees was something special in that first half. I mean, that was a ball handling one here. Again, you go play action pass, but look how quickly he gets off it and gets to his receiver. Here he just had great vision upfield, found Jones right there in the middle of his zone. And Roy Williams missed the tackle. But Drew Brees has put on quite a show in that first half, hasn't he?
From the 26. Brees throws, and it's Carney who played such a big role in the first half. Talked about Drew Brees before. Remember, San Diego wound up with Phillip Rivers as part of the Manning deal after the 2004 draft, and Rivers sat on the bench because Brees ascended and became a star in San Diego. And then it became a case of, what do you do with the Chargers? Well, it made it easier for the Chargers to elevate Rivers and give him the good deal and let Brees go, because Brees tore his labrum at the end of last season. Carney again, first down. And Johnny was talking last night about the recruiting trip. He went to Miami, but they were going to pass on him because of the shoulder. Instead, they opted for Dante Culpepper and his, reconstructed knee. And that's another story. But Brees goes there. And then Sean Payton, among other things, is taking him out for a tour of the town and gets lost.
Yeah. And he's showing him an area where he lived, and then he didn't know how to get back. And he was lost, but, he's the head coach. He's the captain of the ship. He doesn't want to tell Drew Brees and his wife, hey, I'm lost. So he calls Mickey Lewis, the general manager, and he starts getting directions. Oops.
And here's Bush. And the Heisman Trophy winner off to the races again inside the 20. Cuts it back. Touchdown. Anthony Henry had the angle on him, and Bush made it look so simple. Just cutting to his right. Touchdown, Saints.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Reggie Bush is making this whole league look too simple, Al. And when he does that, I know what Bill Parcells is thinking. Here he is, he's in the backfield, and he just throws him on a little screen out there. A good block there, a pretty good block there, but the rest is Reggie Bush. He runs out of a tackle there, makes a move on 2 guys right there. Boy, is he fun to watch, isn't he?
He's fun to watch for every fan, except if you're a fan of the Houston Texans. And every Texan fan has to be saying, what in the hell did we do after the draft?
Hey, I want this guy on my team. If I have first pick, I'm picking Reggie Bush. I don't even know what the game is.
Wow. Here's Carney for the point after. Well, 4 touchdowns last week. On the board tonight. The Saints, I guess they are for real. 28-10. As a rookie running back with the 49ers in 1980, the year before they began their great run. But Bush is on a pace to get into triple figures. Of course, he also runs the ball about 10 times a game normally, or a little bit more time. He's only carried 3 times.
Just look at him. He's a fun guy. I mean, he's a bright-eyed guy with, that's just full of life and energy, and I think he's fun for everyone to be around.
Miles Austin to run it back, and again, a good run back for him to the 38. And reading a story today about, Reggie Bush's jersey sales, #1 in the NFL right now. Let's go to Andrea.
I'm going to go buy one.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you Bill Parcells is not going to go buy one, because He has had a stunned look on his face on the sideline, and he was stunned when he talked to me at halftime. He said, we took a bad beating in the first half. We have to take our time and be patient. Of course, this is before that Bush touchdown. And he completely scoffed at any notion that Sean Payton's familiarity with Tony Romo is why they were playing such good defense on him.
Well, you go back to, Romo and Payton with the Eastern Illinois connection, and Sean, his position coach here over the last 3 years. Romo off the play fake, throwing, caught by Glenn at the 42 of New Orleans, and he takes it to the 35. Fujita stops him there, and there'll be a little more alacrity to this Dallas attack now as they get up and huddle up.
Yeah, I just got a feeling that the Dallas Cowboy offense just never got started. I don't know. I mean, there was great defense. I think there was, time of possession. They didn't have the ball, and then when they did have it, they didn't get anything going quickly, and I think they kind of got away from their running game, and they got away from mixture and all those rhythm things you need.
Here's Barber, who's been such a big part of that running game recently, but tonight he's been limited to next to nothing. Tackled there by Fujita. Barber has become the guy who's seen the brunt of the ball carrying of late. He's seeing more action, Jones less, but tonight Jones has carried 10 times, and that's Barber's first tote.
And Barber's a guy that usually, goes north and south, takes the ball, hits it in there quickly, is, a tough type of runner. And he runs a lot of those third down draws, too. So I think that's one of the reasons he's going to have a better average.
Second down and 11. Romo buys time, has to check off underneath, caught Witten, tackled there by Grant, the defensive end, covering the tight end. Short gain. 3rd and 8 upcoming.
You look in the first half at Terrell Owens and Fred Thomas. I thought they were going to work on Fred Thomas, and they started to it, but he's done a good job on Terrell Owens. I mean, you see the coverage here, and you say, why haven't they thrown to Terrell Owens? Well, Fred Thomas is covering him pretty well.
Yeah, Fred Thomas is a guy who's been picked on a lot of late. The 5'9", 185-pound 11th year cornerback, gives away about 6 inches to Owens.
I think they have to get to the inside and crossing stuff. That's where this defense is vulnerable.
3rd and 8, and that pass may have been deflected. That is incomplete. And it is 4th down. Antoine Lake, the tackle, put the pressure on that time.
Tony Romo saying he wants to go for it here, and looks like Bill Parcells says okay. And like I was saying, they had trouble just keeping their wide receivers outside and getting up the field, and the success they've had are those dig routes or those deep ins or crosses. And I think if they have to come up with a play now, it should be one of those crosses or deep ins.
Yeah, 18-point deficit, mid-3rd quarter. If you miss a field goal, 52 yards, you give them the ball at the 42, you might as well go for it. 4th down and 8. Romo stepping away from pressure, throws, and that's caught by Owens. What a break for the Cowboys on what should have been an interception. It looked like a Fred Thomas pick. At least if he knocks it down, it's 4th down, and they turn it over on downs. Instead, it's an early Christmas gift for number 81.
I was just talking about the deep ends, and you're going to see Terrell Owens right up here, and this is a deep end. He starts there, and he's coming in. Tony Romo throws the ball, but he throws it right to Fred Thomas. And I noticed that, in fact, that was a double cover right there.
Thomas has a thumb injury, and you can see that right thumb is wrapped. Couldn't make the pick, couldn't knock it down, and Dallas gets back in the game, 28-17. Fred Thomas distraught on the sideline because he had a chance to pick it off, at least knock it down. Instead, the deflection goes into the hands of Owens. Talked about that thumb injury, and that was severe enough to keep him out of the game against Pittsburgh on the 12th of November. He does not have an interception this season. And the Cowboys have turned it into an 11-point game. Michael Lewis to run it back. Lewis up past the 30. Coming back from knee surgery last year up to the 38-yard line, and we go back to the touchdown pass.
On that shot we saw Fred Thomas, it looks like he has a cast on that thumb, and the ball went right through his hands. And, it's tough. You can see, he's saying, how in the heck did that thing get through there? But it's tough to play when you have a cast on your hand. I'll tell you, his coverage has been pretty good against Terrell Owens, and again, that was a place they had to go. I thought, on the end of the cross, and they went on the end, and Fred Thomas ran it as well as Terrell Owens did.
Speaking of hand injuries, we were here the second week of the season when Owens broke a finger and had surgery. It didn't cost him any time.
He has plates in his hand.
Yep. In an off week, and he was able to come back the following week. Ball's at the 38-yard line, a little toss. Deuce McAllister runs right through the middle. Some tough running inside up to the 45-yard line, tackled by Aiken Adele.
And one thing the Cowboys have to be thinking about now is getting some pass rush on first and second down, and maybe doing that, maybe they widen their ends a little, and then maybe that opens up the inside run for Deuce McAllister. Because I know, they have to talk about it at halftime. We have to get to Drew Brees. We have to put pressure on him. We have to get to him on first and second down. They haven't been doing that.
Deuce again. Stop him a little short of the first down. Or did they? No, they're going to spot it at the 48. They give him a nice little spot there. That's nice enough for a first down.
I like the combination that Sean Payton has here. The way, he'll run Deuce McAllister inside, and then he'll get the ball to Reggie Bush outside. Then you forget about his fullback, Mike Carney, and he'll give him a run or you'll throw him the ball in the flat. And to me, it's a great mixture along with your wide receiver.
There goes Bush in motion. The fake to McAllister. The fake to Bush. The deep pass is caught on the run by Devery Henderson, and he takes it inside the 5-yard line. On targets more than 30 yards from the line of scrimmage this season, Brees is now 10 out of 13.
Yeah,
that's good for 50 yards.
What a play action that is when you can fake to McAllister, then you can fake to Reggie Bush, and then you could throw the ball to your speed guy Henderson all the way across the field.
And Roy Williams nearly horse collars him at the end. But there's no flag, and it'll be first and goal at the 2.
And Drew Brees put that one in there perfectly.
And they give it to McAllister. And he is stopped just short of the goal line. Second down and goal. Boy, I tell you, Payton has done a fabulous job of play calling tonight.
Yeah, right. He's really kept this Dallas Cowboy defense off balance. When they think he's going to run, he fakes a run and throws. When they think he's going to throw, he runs. When they think it's going to be a tailback, he gives it to the fullback. And the Cowboy defense has been on their heels the whole game.
And there goes Deuce for the touchdown.
I think Deuce learned that from Reggie Bush. We were talking to him last night about it, and he said, yeah, he jumps a lot. He says most guys don't do that.
Second down.
Now, there was a whistle before the play, which nobody heard, and Jerry Austin comes in and signals, I assume, a false start.
Yeah, I would assume with you a false start or not. Yeah, that's what I would assume.
Didn't hear the whistle, never heard the announcement. It's going to be an illegal substitution is what they're telling us that he said. Even upstairs in the replay booth, we're checking with them. They don't know what the call was. Second and goal. Brees throws. Carney again, and he is taken out of bounds. He's already scored twice tonight. He signals touchdown for a guy who'd never had one in his career, but he's well short of it. A yard anyway.
Well, Carney knows the rule that the goal line goes around the world, so the ball doesn't have to be inside that pylon, and that's what he was trying to say, that I broke the plane of the goal line even though it was outside. Well, I don't know. That was pretty close, wasn't it?
Very close. By the way, the penalty was on Zach Strief, who did not report as an eligible receiver at the end of the line. Meanwhile, Payton is out on the field. And now he knows the guys are upstairs are telling him you might want to challenge this call. And that's what it will be. He's going to challenge it to see if it's a touchdown. These need to do what tastes right.
The runner is inbounds and touches the pylon with the ball. Touchdown.
So the challenge is successful, and I guess Carney does know about the goal line. For a guy who hadn't scored in his career, now 44 games old, he has the hat trick tonight.
Yeah, see, as long as his feet and his body are inbounds, the ball, when it crosses a plane, does not have to be inbounds. The pylon is out of bounds, but as we say, the goal line goes around the world, so it's just extended.
As long as he crosses the goal line before he is down, no matter where the ball is, and you can wave your empty hand over it and have the ball well out of bounds in effect, it's still a touchdown.
Right, as long as your body's inbound.
Carney for the point after. What were the odds that this guy would score 3 touchdowns tonight? 20 million to 1, 35-17. Al Michaels, John Madden, Andrea Kramer, Irving. And an onside kick attempt here. Does it go 10 yards? As it was Billy Cundiff who kicks. He has to go 10 yards before the kicking team touches the ball. Jay Bellamy winds up with it. And the officials have yet to signal who has possession.
I'll tell you, the old pupil's trying to run it in on the teacher, isn't he?
The kickers touched the ball after it had gone 10 yards and recovered it. It will be New Orleans ball, 1st and 10.
You bet. Yeah, nobody touches it until it gets past the 40-yard line. Once it reaches the 40, then a Saint can touch it, which they do. It goes off somebody's foot, and then it's collected there by Bellamy. And boy, I'm telling you.
Yeah, 35-17, and you go for an onside kick. That's a gutsy call. Sean Payton has made a couple of them tonight. That 4th and 1, and a reverse, and then an onside kick here.
Marcus Colston is the receiver here.
Or maybe he knows that right now he has the momentum, and there's no way that he's going to give it to Parcells. He has it, and he says, we got it, we have everything going, and we're going to keep it. We're going to onside kick, and we're going to keep going here.
Sean Payton is coaching in his 13th NFL game. I don't know that I've seen a better coached game to this point in a long time.
No, and I mean, he's that great mixture and great play calling, and of course he has the guy there pulling the trigger that's pretty good in Drew Brees tonight.
2nd down and 5, and that's incomplete. But what we knew about the Saints coming in, you knew about Brees, you knew about Bush. Okay, McAllister is sort of a proven commodity. You knew about Joe Horn. He's not even here tonight. Okay, Colston, a 7th-round draft choice. He was hurt, but he's playing. But how about Mike Carney, Jamal Jones? Those guys have scored 4 touchdowns between them. Who are they?
But that's the thing. Once you get it going, and once you play calling, and you get it rolling, and you're going to spread the ball around, and you have a real bright quarterback, you can do those kinds of things.
3rd down and 5. Brees underneath. This is Billy Miller, the tight end. Might as well get everybody into the act. Billy Miller playing because Mark Campbell, the starting tight end, got hurt. And the Saints, among other things, working through a number of injuries. Ernie Conwell, the number 1 tight end, he's hurt. He's out. Then they lose Campbell tonight. Then Miller comes in.
But isn't this something, this Saint team? I mean, they go, from a feel-good story. They win a few games. They're 8-4. They come in here to Dallas to, everyone thought Dallas, coming in is probably the best team in the NFC. And if these guys come out, they're not a feel-good story anymore.
No. 1st and 10. Well, they're a feel-good plus. And that is caught by Henderson in between 2 Cowboys, and before they can touch him, he's into the end zone for a touchdown.
Every Henderson, he's their big play guy. All those guys you mentioned. And then, Henderson is the guy, if you're going to get a deep one, you try and get him the ball deep. Sean Payton is thinking right now, it all worked. I score a touchdown, I go for an onside kick, I get that, and then I get the big play.
Drew Brees has thrown for 384 yards. He's a Texas kid. He grew up in Austin. He led his team to the state championship in this stadium 10 years ago. He is used to Friday night lights. Tonight it is Sunday night lights out. What a performance.
Yeah, that was a great pass by Drew Brees against the cover 2.
John Carney for the point after. And with 3:47 left in the third quarter, the #1 offense in the league has rolled up 42 points on the Dallas Cowboys.
You know, we're going to see, here's what it looks like. Here's Henderson right here. Now we're going to get a cover 2 where the corner comes up and hits here. The safety comes over. Drew Brees is going to hit him right in the hole, right in front of the safety, behind the corner. There's a window right in here. And you watch Henderson down here in the bottom. He gets by the first guy. See the window right there? Drew Brees hits him perfectly before Keith Davis, the safety, can get over there. Here's a route. You see, right up there, Henry is trying to hit him, and then he gets away from that. Then he comes under control a little because he knows that the next guy is going to be the safety coming over, Keith Davis. And that was a heck of a throw by Drew Brees, but that was a good route by Henderson, and and getting away from Anthony Henry, and then finding that hole, coming under control a little in that hole.
Drew Brees had shoulder surgery in January, 4-month rehab in Alabama, had it done by the noted surgeon James Andrews, and his in-laws live in Alabama, so he was able to get down there and stay down there for the rehab. Miles Austin to run this back, and he loses the football, but it's picked up by Elam, and Abram Elam is tackled at the 33-yard line. Coming into tonight, Romo was first, Brees was fourth. There'll be a big change after the game here because 158 and change is a perfect rating, so Brees is 146.3. And Romo, 73.8, and a lot of that is that 50-yard pass to Glenn.
Drew Brees has been close to perfect tonight. I mean, he's hit the short ones, he's hit the medium ones, he's hit the deep one. He's done everything to a defense you can do.
The 10 different receivers. Romo's going to launch one. There's a flag down, and Owens will draw another flag because that was Thomas again, who appeared to be beaten on the play. So you have a flag down all the way upfield near the 50-yard line, and then a flag came in at the end of the play. Two separate issues here.
And that's kind of what we thought, that the Cowboys would do is work on Fred Thomas over there with Terrell Owens. And I still think the thing that they have to do rather than those ups are just running straight up the field because Fred Thomas has covered those well.
On the defense, cornerback, it's a 5-yard penalty from the previous spot, automatic first down.
But again, I think they have to, the only thing that they called is illegal contact here. He's past 5 yards now, he can't touch him. He gets his arm in there. That's what they called there. And then they didn't call pass interference there, obviously.
He threw the flag right there.
I thought he did too.
That's what I'm confused about.
And he can't, if he threw the flag back there at that time, that had to be pass interference. Because the first one had to be hitting him after 5 yards, and we saw that. Then the second flag would have been pass interference, and of course the ball would be right there where the pass interference occurred.
You assume. Now they're telling us they decided there was no pass interference. So despite the flag being thrown, it was picked up. Okay. Everything's after the fact with this crew tonight. On 1st and 10. Again for Owens. And Thomas is right with him.
Yeah, I know what they're trying to do, and I keep going back that Thomas is covering that well. Okay, you've proved, we're trying to get the ball to Owens. We're trying to take a shot to him. We're trying to get it to him deep, but you don't have to just run up the field with him. I think the place to run with Owens is maybe bring him in motion, maybe bring him across the field on a deep crossing pattern, or again going back to that deep end because they've proven right now that they can't just put him out there and running up on him.
2nd and 10 now from the 37-yard line. Romo over the middle, and that is caught by Glenn right in the middle of traffic, and he knew he was going to get popped, and Fred Thomas makes the tackle, and that will be enough for a first down.
Yeah, and that was the deep end to Terry Glenn, and they had Terrell Owens in the slot on that one, and he ran an in also. In fact, he was wide open, so he had an in from the outside receiver right there, Terry Glenn, and just inside of him, also running an in pattern, was Terrell Owens.
That's good for 18 yards. Glenn with 6 catches tonight. Romo has only 10 completions. Owens has caught 2. Now Jones. And Jones should have enough for a first down before he gets slammed out of bounds by Josh Bullocks.
You know, one of the things that this Saint defense wanted to do, and they've done an excellent job, is to keep Tony Romo in the pocket. I mean, he's pretty efficient in the pocket, but he's really deadly when he'd get outside. And they've had great containment on him. I mean, they made him, just throw from rhythm, stay in the pocket, not let him get out and buy extra time, because when he gets out and buys extra time, that's when his wide receivers are a lot better.
And who would know that better than Sean Payton, who worked with him every day for 3 years? 1st and 10. To the outside, and Glenn gets free and makes the catch at the 19-yard line. He's tackled there by Jason Kraft. Out of the pocket, and they do keep numbers on that as well as everything else. He's the highest rated passer coming into the game in the league when you get him outside the pocket. So he's number 1 outside the pocket. Brees is number 1 out of the shotgun.
Right, and I think that's, this Saint defense realized that, and I think their defensive ends and tackles pushing up the middle have done a good job of not letting Romo outside.
From the pocket he throws. Witten makes the catch. Witten breaks a couple of tackles, still on his feet, and then plunges forward to about the 12-yard line.
I think Tony Romo is asking if he could go no huddle. He was signaling over in the sideline, and he just wanted to line up on the line of scrimmage. What he's doing here, Cowboys going no huddle.
2nd and 5 at the 13-yard line. A minute to play in the 3rd. Hit as he throws from behind. That pass is incomplete, looking towards Glenn. Brian Young made contact with him as he releases it. 3rd down and 5.
I think we were talking to Gary Gibbs, the defensive coordinator of the Saints, and he was talking about Brian Young as being his most consistent guy. And you see how they're keeping him in the pocket. The ends are getting up the field, not letting him out there. And then they get the push from the tackle, that time being Brian Young, right in Tony Romo's face.
3rd and 5. You have Marion Barber, the back here on 3rd down. Flag will be against the Saints, or a timeout was called. Timeout was called.
It will be a 30-second timeout.
The snap. Let's go to Andrea.
Well, we've been singing the praises quite a bit of Sean Payton, so before the game I talked to Mickey Loomis, the Saints general manager. I wanted to know how he even found out about him. He said his name was out there, but he was telling me that the league, the NFL, keeps a half-an-hour interview on file of prospective head coaching candidates. So in early January, he got DVDs of about 30 or 40 assistant coaches. They're all asked the same questions. What Loomis told me he was most impressed with Sean was not so much what he said, but how he presented it. Loomis also said that what was important to him is that he'd actually worked for Bill Parcells. He wanted a guy who had a firm hand, and he liked that in Sean Payton. But I don't know, what do you think, guys, this mentor relationship, how long do you think that's going to last? Bill's got a pretty long memory for blowouts like this.
Well, I think Bill's going to be upset with his team if they don't win here. I mean, they haven't been very sharp. If they're going to do something, they have to stop them, and their defense has to play a lot better, and they have to tackle a lot better than they did tonight.
3rd down and 5, and now Romo's going to take a timeout. So they have a play call. He looked at that defensive alignment, didn't like what he saw, and in a game in which he's already trailing by 25, he has to burn a 3rd quarter timeout. Next week, we head west. We go to San Diego, the Chargers. And a lot of people think they are the best team in the league right now. We know LaDainian Tomlinson has had an unbelievable season, and they will take on the Kansas City Chiefs. He set a touchdown record today. Did Tomlinson, 29. That eclipsed the mark set by Sean Alexander last year, and he's going to break Paul Hornung's scoring record, which has stood for decades. Maybe next week. 1960 is when the former Golden Domers set it. He's 2 points away from tying it. 3rd down and 5 now after the timeout. They spread him out. And Romo's going to throw a fade into the end zone, and Glenn is there and is out of bounds. Couldn't come down in the end zone, and you have a flag down back at the 17-yard line.
That signal was for illegal chop. And I don't know what those other signals are.
We have an illegal chop block, number 65 and 62. That penalty is declined. 4th down.
So you had Gerard and Rivera, the center and the right guard.
Yeah, it's going to be right here and right here. And again, if one blocker is engaged, then the other guy can't hit him. That's what it is. Now, Rivera cuts him, which is okay. He can do that, but then Gerard comes over the top, which he can't do.
And so it's 4th down. If we get about a field goal with this deficit, 4th down and 5 from the 13-yard line. Their last touchdown came on a 4th down play. Can they do it again? No. Glenn covered by Thomas, and another penalty. Flag down at the 13-yard line.
I think that was against the Saints, Al. I think they jumped, which will be awfully close to a 1st down.
Outside, number 68 of the defense.
So it's 4th and 5.
The result of a penalty.
I know. Well, I was thinking the same thing Austin was thinking. I was looking at that and saying, well, the 5 yards give him a 1st down.
Yeah, the result of the penalty may be a measurement.
The result of the penalty will leave the ball approximately 3 inches short.
How do you say that?
How do you know that? That's impossible to know.
He gave the international signal just before that, as I have no idea what it is.
I know. Well, if it's 3 inches short, how do you know it's 5 yards and 3 inches? Okay. I give up. Okay. So it was 4th down and 5 yards and 3 inches.
Well, if you need 3 inches, that's a quarterback sneak play. And I think Tony Romo would just keep this one.
Now you're going to have a false start against Dallas, so you're back to 4th and 5 and 3 inches.
False start. 63 offense. 5 yards. It's still 4th down.
The way this game is being called tonight, if you had an offside here against New Orleans, you'd probably give Dallas a 1st down.
But you wonder why Dallas was going through all that. I would just think you need 3 inches. You just snap the ball and just fall down and get your 1st down on a quarterback sneak, and then go back to work from there with a new set of downs.
4th and 5, final minute of the 3rd. Romo, and has that one picked off in the end zone. That's picked off by Jason Kraft on a pass intended for Witten.
If Jason Kraft is a nickel back, the Saints were in 5 defensive backs, and of course when they got that 4th and 5, then they went to nickel with the extra defensive back, and you'll see Kraft is just going to come and undercut it. You see, he was going to, instead of leaving Jason Witten, on the top of him, he just came right underneath in front of him. Because he figures, that he's in the end zone. You don't have to cover him all the way through the end line. So right him. See how he just comes in there with Whitman and just undercuts it. Which is the play, which is the thing that you would do there.
From the 21-yard line on first down, Deuce McAllister up to the 26-yard line.
There can be some boos in there with that Deuce.
Yeah, you're right. It is a very mixed reception. He will not have to run another play here. First time a Cowboys opponent has had 5 touchdown passes in a game in Big D, going back to the Cotton Bowl years, 47 seasons. So they'll change ends here. It's the end of the third quarter. The New Orleans Saints trying to go to 9-4 with 42 points. The Dallas Cowboys, who've won 4 straight, 17. And Sunday Night Football is back after these messages from your local NBC station.
Coach in the huddle, because he's so fundamentally sound at the same time. A guy who's a great competitor, and a guy who wants to win. He's a winner.
And as we come back to action in the fourth quarter, Brees' pass is incomplete. Bobby Carpenter, the Dallas linebacker, put the pressure on him, and that makes it 3rd down and 4.
One group that's done an outstanding job tonight is this Saint offensive line. Talking to Deuce McAllister last night, he said the biggest surprise to him was how well this offensive line's playing. He said, they're just kind of a bunch of guys that they put together. Jamal Brown was a right tackle. They moved him into left tackle. They got Jeff Fain from Cleveland. Jari Evans, the right guard, is a rookie. And he said, he didn't expect them to play as well as they have. And, all the surprises, within this New Orleans Saints team. And here the biggest surprise to McAllister is the offensive line.
Timeout Saints. 3rd down and 4 after the Saints took a timeout. Brees will sling it out to Bush. And that pass is incomplete, so they took a timeout. Run that play. And one of the few things that haven't worked tonight for the Saints, who had scored touchdowns on their last 4 possessions.
That's what you need in a quarterback like, Drew Brees. He's so efficient. He hasn't made any mistakes. He hasn't forced anything. And when he does throw one awry like that, all it is 4th down and you punt.
Steve Weatherford to kick. Terrence Newman backpedaling. 23-yard line. Now past the 40. Terrence Newman down the sideline. And is finally forced out of bounds near midfield by the punter, Weatherford. And now there's another flag down on the sideline. By the way, we have solved the 5-yard and 3-inch mystery. I'll get to that in a second, John.
Oh, you got the
yep.
You got the mystery solved.
But
huh?
we're gonna
You're gonna keep it
during
yourself.
the return, illegal block from behind by the return team. 10 yards, 1st down.
I'm just going to have you wait till the other side of the commercial. Just a little bit of a tease, but we have the answer. The mystery has been solved. 42-17, New Orleans. John, there's the down box. The chain is marked at what they say is exactly 5 yards. And then Jerry Austin was able to say they're 3 inches shy because the down box before that play was 3 inches behind the 5-yard mark as Romo throws incomplete. So live and learn. They marked the chain at exactly 5 yards, and then with the down box behind it, that's how Austin was able to come up with they need 3 inches.
Where did you come up with that's how Austin came up with it?
Because
I don't know that Austin did, because I looked, he gave that universal international look, like,
oh yeah,
like this one here, like I don't know.
We've seen that
before he did that.
We've seen that look before.
Yeah.
But we have discovered upon research that took us to to Nairobi and beyond that they marked the chains at the 5-yard mark. 2nd and 10. Romo going deep, and Terrell Owens over his shoulder could not haul it in, and ain't saying deuce.
Oh, not now. I mean, that's the one they've been trying to get Terrell Owens deep on this side. Again, it's a nickel thing here, and that's a pretty good deal to give a double move. They give a double move, and he's expecting the ball up in the outside. He's looking over his outside shoulder, and it comes over his inside shoulder. But, you know, he got open. He made a good move. He had to catch that. I mean, that's on Terrell Owens.
3rd and 10 from the 27. Romo throws. Now Owens makes the catch, and that's a first down as he drops down. Fujita makes the tackle at the 40-yard line.
Yeah, sometimes you have to mix that in too. You know, they've been trying to go deep to him the whole time. You know, get him out here on Fred Thomas and do all that. And sometimes when you just play that stuff, and you're just playing out, you know that you can take it out, you can take it in, you can take a hook very easily.
Romo has to hurry it up, but then they give it to Barber on a draw, and that goes nowhere. 2nd down and 10.
Yeah, I think that Sean Payton has done such a good job against Bill Parcells tonight that, you know, if you're going to get mad at someone, you kind of have to have a priority list, you know, and maybe you put yourself and your coaches first and then your players second and so on. I don't think you put it on the opposing coach. You mad list.
2nd down and 10. Play fake. Romo buys time, and that is caught by Glenn up at the 49-yard line, and it'll be a first down.
Tell you one thing, these Saint defensive backs are really hitting. I don't know if they're good defensive backs or not. I mean, that's been the thing. They've given up a lot of big plays this year, but they're sure playing very crisply tonight.
Jay Bellamy put that last hit on. We talked about Fred Thomas earlier, who've been having a great night. Then he got beat on that Owens touchdown on the deflection. But apart from that, you're right, John, they have done a masterful job.
And Mike McKenzie up on top playing very well.
Romo begins to stumble, and that will cost him a sack. Will Smith and Brian Young both take advantage of that.
Yeah, Brian Young has really done a good job of getting pressure up the middle, because then the ends, Charles Grant, Will Smith, they can keep containment. You see, they can stay upfield so that Romo can't get to the outside. You see, and then if you do that, then to go along with that, you need the pressure up the middle. And Brian Young has given him that pressure up the middle big time tonight against Tony Romo.
2nd and 18. Romo airing it out, going for Owens again, and Owens had trouble finding the ball. Double covered by Thomas and Bullocks.
And this is what the Saints have done all night to Tony Romo, is they knew that they didn't want to let him outside, so they kept those ends up the field, made him stay in the pocket. You see, they had pressure from the outside, but even bigger than that is the interior pressure. So they can't step up, because if you just contain him on the outside, then he can step up or step to the outside. But if you contain him on the outside and get the pressure up the middle, there's no place for him to go.
And kudos to Gary Gibbs, the defensive coordinator who was on the Dallas staff with Peyton last year as the linebackers coach, former Oklahoma head coach. That's caught by Witten at the 50-yard line.
And Gary Gibbs knows Tony Romo very well, because when he was a linebackers coach for the Cowboys, Tony Romo would run the scout team. There's Gibbs right here. Tony Romo would run the scout team, so he was always getting his defense ready against Tony Romo. And he said Romo would do stuff, and he would make plays, and he'd run, and he'd say, hey, they don't do that. Their quarterback doesn't do that. He said, so he knew what kind of a playmaker Tony Romo was.
And prior to punt, drops the nose of the ball. They give him the reverse spin on it. Michael Lewis makes a fair catch at the 16. 11-11 to go in the fourth. Bart Carney, Mike Carney. Played a guy named Mike Carney One of the great stars of the game with 3 touchdowns. The fullback, there he is.
Yeah, and then when he wasn't scoring, John Carney was scoring.
Right.
Phil Leavning. But I'm really impressed with Sean Payton. I mean, I've been impressed with him for a long time. I thought he was, a good young coach, and I was never sure if he was ready to be a head coach. But he went down there. He took a tough situation. He had to change the environment. He changed the environment. The players have bought into it. But I think a big part of that was Drew Brees.
2nd and 7. Brees taking the play clock all the way down. They'll begin to eat up the clock. Talked about the play. You go back to that 4th and 1 early on in the reverse. McAllister hands it off to Devery Henderson. And then Carney with 3 touchdowns coming in. Then you had the onside kick with an 18 with a touchdown, and it's just picking up a first down on a 3rd and 5. Looking at Sean Payton. Keep in mind, after the 03 season, he came very close to winding up as the so close he was thinking about going out and buying some silver and black clothing.
A sport coat.
Right, but they went with Norv Turner. He came back here. Then last year, Green Bay interviewed him. After Mike Sherman was fired, he had a formal interview in Green Bay. New Orleans wanted him. And as he's interviewing with New Orleans, he hears point and
And in the meantime, Green Bay had called him back and told him he didn't have that job.
And that's a false start right here. And that's when he's
86 offense, 5 yards. It's first down.
John Owens ready to go out to dinner with Mickey Loomis. And he's thinking, am I in play in Green Bay? What's going to happen down here? He gets the call. He's not in play any longer in Green Bay. They go to dinner, and before he can even go to Buffalo, he never shuffles off.
And that's big. I mean, there's only 32 of these jobs, and he's a young coach, and he wanted one of them, and he took a difficult situation. A lot of times, your first coaching job is your first chance as the head coach has to be a difficult situation, or it wouldn't be available.
McAllister on 1st and 15. Payton, a little bit like John Gruden, Eagles quarterback coach in the late 90s. Then he goes to the Giants as the quarterback coach, offensive coordinator. Jim Fossil-Rain comes here under Parcells, listed as the quarterback coach and the passing game coordinator, because they really don't have, in effect, what you call an offensive coordinator, a matter of semantics.
He's associated with Bill Parcells a lot more than just 3 years. I mean, you hear stories about Sean Payton and Bill Parcells, and you think that, that he'd been a protege of Bill Parcells forever. They were really only together 3 years.
And this is Deuce up to the 29-yard line. Well, it's maybe the biggest surprise in the league. Talking about the Saints, certainly a great feel-good story considering everything that's happened to that devastated region. Now this team is really for real. They're 7 minutes away from being the number 2 seed in the NFC, going to 9-4, and thoroughly dismantling a Dallas Cowboy team that a lot of people thought was the best team in the NFC.
Right, coming in, they were the best team, and then if they beat the Cowboys, then you have to think that they're the best or one of the best, and look at this.
And that's McAllister on the 3rd down. And behind a Mike Carney block to the 34-yard line. And that's your Deuce Boo combination.
And Mike Carney has played a heck of a game tonight. I mean, this is what you expect of him, this type of thing. But that line has done a good job of blocking. It looks like there's a little give up in the Cowboys. I mean, this is where you want to get guys, and they don't look like they're quite as anxious to play as the Saints are right now. And that's a great position to be in, but you have to give credit again to this Saint offensive line. I mean, they have taken these guys and they have beaten this defense down and whipped them.
That's a 35-yard gain. Now it's Bush. Remember him? Gain of 5. Andrea.
Well, between Deuce and between Reggie, it's interesting that it was only 6 years ago that McAllister was in Bush's position. He was the highly touted first-round pick as the rookie, and the veteran on the team was Ricky Williams. Yeah, remember him? Well, Deuce told me Ricky didn't help him a lot, and he said this was his team. In fact, he said that Ricky Williams belittled Deuce as a player in front of the team. He never forgot that. So McAllister said that this was one reason that he wanted to welcome Reggie Bush as much as possible.
And McAllister, 19 carries, 105 yards.
I don't know anyone who would want to belittle Reggie Bush anyway.
No, that is a Reggie chant here.
I don't think they draw a very big crowd.
No. Feels like the Superdome at the
I think that, that he knows that there's plenty there for both of us. That, the running back position and the way this Saint offense is, it's not just going to be one back. And I think Sean Payton kind of assured Deuce McAllister of that, that you're going to get the guy that's going to carry it. Reggie Bush is going to get the ball a lot too, but in different ways.
Deuce again, with that second effort, he picks up the first down. He was stopped initially by Ware and then plunges forward. Well, now he knows for sure that he's a big part of the offense.
You don't see this a lot inside. Watch Deuce McAllister here on DeMarcus Ware. He's just going to stiff arm him right there. You don't see a lot of stiff arms on inside running. I mean, usually a stiff arm is saved for being out towards the sidelines.
Mentioned now he knows, as opposed to, when the coach sits you down after they draft Reggie Bush and says, I'm going to make you part of the offense. Yeah, you hope it's true, but there has to be a little skepticism. And he's coming back off major knee surgery. 21st carry of the night. John, the other thing we haven't talked about with the Saints tonight, you have a 53-man roster in the league. They have 34 guys who weren't there last year. And when we did the Saints at the end of last season, I'd never seen a more, downtrodden, and you understood it. There was no home. As you take a look at what their stars have done tonight, they were on the road, and there are some of the numbers for the the three, I guess, mega stars right now for the Saints.
Yeah, Drew Brees is 5 TDs, and Deuce McAllister getting Peyton talked about. Getting the ball to this guy as much as you can isn't bad either.
Reggie Bush inside the 10, and he'll step out at the 4 to be first down and goal. But I know, John, you and I have and at that time, they didn't even know if they were going back to New Orleans. And, of course, Jim Haslett paid
credibility and and a great quarterback, and then good coaching, because today with free agency and as many changes as you talked about, you not only have to coach well, but you have to coach quickly.
And this is interesting. Now the student is saying to the mode, and I'm not going to embarrass you.
Well, and Bill Parcells is thinking, I don't need that. I've been in this league too long, and you don't have to feel sorry for me. I will have my day, and then maybe at the end as a kicker, how about that onside kick?
Yep.
I still think that this is a trend that we see more and more, Al, is the opponent team, and maybe now it's just the Saint fans in here.
Well, we started the night by saying, how about dem Cowboys is the new rallying cry once again in Dallas. And we're going to end the night with that old refrain from New Orleans. Who dat gonna beat them Saints? 42-17 New Orleans. On Tuesday night, don't miss a new Friday Night Lights right here on NBC. And there's a man who knows all about Friday Night Lights, growing up in Austin, Texas. Drew Brees won a state championship in the stadium 10 years ago. And he's having just a great night. It's one of those delicious nights if you're a New Orleans Saint.
Yeah, like we were talking about the Saints this year, they come in here at 8-4. They're a feel-good story. Maybe they'll be a playoff team. Then they come out of this game. It's still a feel-good story, as you say, but maybe they're the top team in the NFC right now.
Well, you look at the Chicago Bears, who have the best record, but you know it's been all defense for them. They're 10-2. They play the Rams in St. Louis tomorrow night. They're your division leaders, and that's going to go to 9-4 for New Orleans. So at the moment, they're going to be the number 2 seed. Seattle loses today. Dallas will drop to 4. Seattle would be 3. And they won't even kick a field goal here. They're just going to kneel down and give Dallas the ball with 1:13 remaining in the fourth quarter. Oh, sweetest bath he ever had. Show coming up, a rock star of the game, highlights and interviews from Irving. And now with New Orleans opting to take a knee, Dallas will do the same. And you know, John, I was thinking about when Bill Parcells was talking about Tony Romo and put the anointing oil away. I don't think you put the anointing oil, just it kind of travels from city to city. Rex Grossman had the anointing oil in September. And then Tony Romo had the anointing oil as you look at Cowboy owner Jerry Jones. And I think the anointing oil just like it kind of moves around. Maybe Drew Brees has the anointing oil right now.
Yeah, but Drew Brees has played. I mean, the other guys are young, and any quarterback who they're going to have bumps in the road. And, you know, tonight was a bump in the road for Tony Romo.
And for Brees, even though he's had those 2 good years, I think people were always a little skeptical. And now they realize what he is. Sean Payton, and you can see Bill Parcells saying, good job.
And I would echo that. I think Sean Payton did a heck of a job. I think this guy here did a heck of a job.
I would put about 4 exclamation points at the end of good job. Meanwhile, Brees 26 out of 38 for 384. The Cowboys go to Atlanta next week. Saints are home in the Dome against the Washington Redskins. Saints win it 42-17. Our post-game show coming right up. About only Saints fans in the building. That "Who Dat" chant went up. They are 9-4 with a 42-17 win. But the night started out as if it was going to be a Dallas night because you had a 77-yard run by Julius Jones, and just like that, it was 7-0 Cowboys. But then came the onslaught, and it began, of all things, with a Mike Carney run. First touchdown of his career. Then, before the second period was over, the second touchdown of Carney's career on that pass. They led 21-7. Then it was 21-10. Then Reggie Bush took this swing pass and went 61 yards for a touchdown to make it 28-10. It looked like they had it safely tucked away, but then on a 4th down play, Thomas couldn't make the interception. The deflection goes into the hands of Owens to make it 28-17, but then an onside kick, a Carney touchdown, his 3rd of the night, and a romp for Reggie Bush and the New Orleans Saints as they win it 42-17. Drew Brees having a tremendous year, and tonight a tremendous night. 26 out of 38, 384 yards, 5 touchdown passes for the native Texan. Andrea will be with him when we come back, and Reggie Bush will be alongside as well in a moment when we come back to Irving, Texas. Saints ran up 536 yards tonight, most ever allowed by a Bill Parcells coach team in a game that didn't go into overtime. Due in good measure to Drew Brees, Reggie Bush and company. Drew and Reggie with Andrea Kramer.
You may say that you like the heavy lifting of being a running back, but boy, it's hard to beat you as an all-purpose threat. Tell me about the 61-yard screen pass.
It was just a great play. Something that we've been working on in practice, and something we saw on film, and something we felt like we could exploit, and we use it to our advantage. Drew did a great job of getting me the ball, and coach just called great plays.
What were you able to exploit in their defense? You kept them on their heels all night.
This man right here, this is the answer right here. He's a great quarterback, man, and he just did a great job at putting the ball in places, where they couldn't get to it, giving our receivers a chance to make plays, and the rest is history.
All right, Reggie, thank you very much. Now, Drew, you must love Texas Stadium because last time you were here in 1996, you won the Texas State Championship and put up 55. What is it that has enabled you to have 5 touchdowns against a very tough Dallas defense?
Coming into each game, you just don't know how it's going to play out. But I'm more happy that our fullback got 3 touchdowns today, and I just happened to throw him 2 of them. But, I think it was just a great all-around team effort. Obviously, this game meant a lot to us for these NFC standings, but not only that, but Coach Payton coming back here, and I know it meant a lot to him, and we wanted to win it for him.
Very aggressive play calling by Sean Payton, maybe exemplified best by the 4th and 1 call. What's going through your mind when he calls a reverse in short yardage like that?
Well, he told us on Wednesday that was going to be the call in a critical situation on 4th and 1. So, we hear that stuff all the time, and we know that he's going to live up to it. He's going to call it, and obviously he expects us to execute it, and we did, and obviously it was a big play in the game.
You mentioned Mike Carney before, your fullback, an all-around team effort, but what about the performance of your defense in being able to corral Tony Romo?
I thought they did a phenomenal job. They got us a turnover that resulted in a touchdown in that second quarter, and I just felt like we were really feeding off one another. They get them 3 and out, we get the ball, drive down, score a touchdown. I think the momentum just stayed with us, and that's what it's all about.
I don't know if the audience can hear the crowd yelling still for your team. Yeah. To what extent, really, are the Saints almost becoming America's team, the other America's team?
Well, I think this is amazing. That you'd come to a really storied place like Dallas and play the Cowboys and win the way we did, and yet our fans are still here yelling "Who dat" and "Go Saints" and all those things. So that's awesome. We got great fans, and obviously it means a lot to them too.
All right, Drew. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
So there it is, up to the minute now. Chicago plays tomorrow night, and they can clinch a bye if they beat the Rams. They're 10-2. Saints would be the 2nd seed at the moment. Seattle would be 3rd. Dallas would be 4th at 8-5. Final score again, 42-17. The New Orleans Saints defeat the Dallas Cowboys. Next week, we go to San Diego, and that means LaDainian Tomlinson, Phillip Rivers and company against Larry Johnson. And the Kansas City Chiefs football night in America begins at 7 Eastern and 4 Pacific time. Until then, Al Michaels, John Madden, Andrew Kramer, our entire NBC Sports crew saying good night from Irving, Texas.